Good morning and welcome to another episode of Around the Indoor Football World. As always, I am back with my trusty co-hosts. We got Krish Vyas, TJ Bartholomew, and then Coach B over on the corner there. But most of all, we are joined by a very special guest this morning, Mr. Desmond Maxwell. You know him as Duran. He has played on multiple teams across his career, and I'm sure everybody knows plenty about him. So we'll get right into it here after a quick intro video. If you guys are watching, make sure to hit that like button, comment, subscribe, share this with your friends if they're indoor football fans. Definitely would appreciate each and every share. All right, with no more delays, let's go ahead and get right into it. How's everybody doing this morning?
Doing good, doing very well.
Good.
Early morning.
Awesome. Once again, thank you so much for joining us so early. I know this is an early show. I definitely do that because I've got a 4-year-old that loves to jump around and act crazy while we're in the middle of a show. So we typically do this pretty early because of that. But really appreciate you coming on so early to come and talk to us about your career a little bit. But let's start from present day and work our way backwards. So correct me if I'm wrong, but you actually finished out the season with the TAL in 2025. What was your experience like with the Arena League?
The Arena League. I actually didn't. I was supposed to go play in the Arena League, but I didn't go play this year. A couple of teams hit me up. I just decided after winning the championship with Albany, I just wanted to come back home and just rest my body up and get prepared for 2026.
That's definitely fair. I mean, obviously, you guys had a pretty stupendous season. Can't go much better than what you guys had happen this season. Anybody else have a question for Mr. Maxwell here?
Yeah, I do. Desmond, you played this game for a while, right? And I'm sure you got boys on other teams and everything. What do you think about the state of like the AF1 as a whole in terms of like player pay and like food and conditions and everything?
Uh, I can't speak for my experiences. I can speak for my experiences from the teams that I played on. But honestly, I think the AFL one's gonna be in a great. It's gonna be in great shape. It's just they're getting the Knicks out the league. It was their last year. Was their first year, like actually running the league and getting it and going through the league and everything. So a lot of teams probably had some hiccups or whatever. But from housing and pay and everything, I feel like it was ran pretty well. I really didn't hear too much about what other teams had going on, but I know I got boys on other teams, so they was telling me that their pay was decent, their food was decent, and they would go back to the places that they played on. But they can always do better. Each team can always do better.
Isn't that accurate? Like you said,
Well,
there's always room for improvement. Even though Albany, from what I hear, is one of the best in terms of taking care of their players.
Yeah, most definitely top tier.
Go ahead, Coach B.
when you say top tier, what is a day in the life of an Albany Firebird? Give us your day and then your week breakdown.
So starting off, like we got practices. Well, on Monday we will have a pull workout, and then we'll have team meetings. Then we'll go into offensive and defensive meetings, and then on Tuesday through Friday, it's a practice. We'll go practice. We'll get up at 7, like 6:30, 7 o'clock. Get to the stadium, get to where we practicing at. Then we'll start practice at 8:30 sharp. Then we out of there about 11 o'clock. Then we in meetings from 11:30 to about 1 o'clock, and then we got the rest of the day to ourselves.
Wow. Sounds like a pretty professional organization. Not that that's surprising at all. Like I said, Albany's kind of the class of indoor and arena football currently. But TJ, do you have any questions for Duran?
Yeah, in terms of playing style and just what you like to be a part of team wise, do you prefer indoor or arena football more?
Uh, I played in both. I feel like I can play in both, but I like arena just because it allows me to it allows to keep the fullback alive. Like they say, the fullback is dead in the NFL, but also it gives us a chance to keep the fullback alive because there are great fullbacks in the arena league. I mean, yeah, I know some of them use like running backs and stuff in indoor and stuff, but there's also you can't forget about fullbacks. So I like arena. It continues to allow me to showcase my skills as I played tight end in college. So it allows me to showcase my skills as a blocker and a runner and fullback.
I love that. I love that. I personally, that's one of the big reasons why I'm a big fan of the arena rules football. I think the football or the fullback in particular is one of the funnest, most versatile positions on any football field. Kind of like a hybrid between a tight end and a running back, kind of like you said. So I love to see them back involved and see true arena football played. Um, Talk to us a little bit about the past couple seasons in the AFL, now the AF1. How tough has it been to? I don't want to say stay motivated, but how hard is it, or how hard has it been over the past couple years to kind of like silence the noise outside of your team at the time? With all the teams that are coming and going, and all the issues in the league and stuff like that. I mean, how hard is it to just focus on playing when stuff like that's happening?
Uh, it's hard because I want to say the last couple of years I've been on teams. I've done took chances on the teams that have folded. Like I played with Orlando last year, and we folded unexpectedly. The year before, when it was arena, I played with West Texas, and it folded. And then I was playing with our Rampage, and they folded. So for me, in my experience, it was kind of like a eye-opening experience, but also it was kind of like a blessing, just a blessing because like I have faith in God. I got really big faith in God. So these things happen for a reason. So it was just like for me, it was just like keep chipping away at it, keep chipping away at it, keep chipping away at it. And yeah, it gets tough, but also when it gets tough, you can't give up. You gotta keep your faith, you gotta keep praying and keep going. So, when those things happen, I was just like, it's something else for me, something else that's gonna be positive for me, and which this past year Albany Firebirds gave me a chance to come play football. Not only play football, but build a family with the guys up there and also win a championship. So that was one of probably the best feelings that I ever had is winning a professional championship. And it was a blessing. Like I said, like it get hard when these teams is folded, but also there's gonna be a blessing on the other end.
Not to bogart this interview or anything, but talk to us a little bit about that. So you just talked about three separate teams you were a part of that folded, and somehow throughout that process you end up with Albany, one of, like we've talked about before, one of the most stable, best run organizations in indoor football. And then you go undefeated and win a championship. I mean, it's like the lowest of lows one season to the highest of highs. I mean, talk to me about the emotional roller coaster you've been through over the past year. I mean, that sounds like kind of crazy to keep up with, from, like I said, going from the lowest to lowest to the highest to highest.
It's like I said, it's been a lot of ups and downs, but I still keep my head up and still keep seeing it through. Like last year, it was just like, dang, like for real, like this is what's really going on. Like, why couldn't they just tell us this at first? Like, it would be things like that. Like, why have us all come out here, come from our homes, and then you're gonna fold? Like, do you not think that's like respectful, or do you like how do you like? I just don't get it. But also, when I went to Albany, it was a blessing. I was supposed to be in Albany 2024 last year, but I wound up getting traded to West Texas, who folded. But this year it was just a blessing how it all happened. Orlando folded, and Coach Ware gave me a call and gave me an opportunity. So I will always be thankful for Coach Ware just because he gave me the opportunity to be a part of something great.
That's awesome. Chris, you got anything?
Yeah, Desmond, obviously, at Western Kentucky in 2015, you had the opportunity to play for one of the brightest offensive minds in the country, and Jack Brown. Talk to me about the influence he kind of had on you in your career.
Uh, so Coach Brom is a really great coach. I do say that, like, he's a really great coach. He's a player guy. He's from my city, actually, Louisville, Kentucky. So like, he just built bonds. He just built bond with the kids that's from Louisville, Kentucky and stuff. Not saying that he didn't build bonds with other players and stuff like that, but he always had a heart for the kids from Louisville just because we all work hard, we all underrated, we from Louisville, Kentucky. Don't nobody really know nothing about football, but also Louisville got a lot of talent, and we got a very big school district. So he took a chance on a lot of us, and he took a chance on me. So I just always be grateful for it, for playing for West Kentucky and playing for him.
I do want to ask you, speaking on talent, obviously you did play D1 football. Talk to me about kind of, NIL and the transfer portal and how you would have utilized it if it was available back in your day.
Uh, if we would have had it back in the day, it'd probably been a lesson learned for us because, like I said, like now this NIL it turns into the highest bidder. This is where the kids is going to. But some of us, like, we would have took the money that we got and used it wisely, and just probably stayed at schools. We probably would have lost some, but we would probably had a lot majority stay just because we was that talented to we can lose pieces but also add pieces as well.
Absolutely. Coach B, you got anything?
Desmond, uh, how was the culture in Orlando different from the culture in Albany and then the culture in West Texas? Like, did you feel when you got to Albany it was a championship mindset?
Uh, so the culture was definitely different in Orlando versus Albany. Not to say that you know both coaches wasn't great coaches, because Coach EJ is a great coach and everything, and Coach Ware is a great coach, but also they like they they knew what they wanted out of the season. So Orlando, we had championship mindset, but also Coach Ware, he knows every team that he brings in. He knows his guys. He knows what he's going to get out of his guys, each and every guy, and he knows that every year, his year, he gonna win the championship. It's a championship or bust. He's always like that, and he's gonna push you. He's gonna continue to work you. He's gonna get the best out of you. So Coach EJ would do the same, but you know, you got some guys that think Coach EJ is a joke and stuff like that, which is he's not. He's really like just laid back and cool, and he's observant and everything. But like I said, like they both are great coaches. It was just Albany's one is the standard of the league. Everybody, as you can see, we got five people signed to the next level. So everybody's gonna be trying to chomping at the bit, trying to get to Albany and play for Albany.
You are not wrong, and that was something I was going to ask about here in a minute. But TJ, do you have anything for Dron?
Yeah, what do you think your future holds long term? Are you seeing yourself going to coaching, maybe media with us? What are your thoughts on that?
Uh, right now I am coaching high school football. I've been coaching high school football for the past 4 or 5 years, 6 years maybe. So I've been coaching high school football, and I do see myself being a head coach soon rather than later. So I'm just soaking up the game from each each level, even including the arena, like how things have been ran, how people practice, how I should treat the players and stuff like that. Which I don't treat players bad, but also it's a I learn from each coach how they treat their players and how they talk with them, how they work with them off the field and everything.
That definitely makes sense. In Albany, uh, how do I explain this? So you like you just mentioned a moment ago, you guys have had five guys to go outdoors. Some of them that I honestly had believed that may never choose to go outdoors, and Sam Castronova. But how is the culture there in terms of going outdoors? Is this something that they bring you in and they tell you, hey, look, we're here to provide opportunities for you to get to that level? Or is it something that's kind of just in the background, not really talked about as much as, the main goal, which is obviously winning a championship?
Uh, so with that, it's like I said, like Coach, we're bringing guys that can play outdoor. He wants to give guys the best chance to get back outside because that's the goal. You want to get outside, even if you never had a chance, or if you had a chance, you want to get back outside. He's going to set that up for you, but also you got to come in and put the work in for him. Like I said, like he's a guy that once you come in, you put the work in, you see what the five guys did. They put the work in, and now they're back outside. So Coach Ware preaches that. Coach Ware is not going to put his name on the line if you're a guy that's not going to work hard and not going to do as coaches say or be coachable. Because like that's what that's what the outdoor teams want. They want players who can be coachable and also work hard and continue to grind. And that's what Coach Ware is. He's a grinder. He's like I say, he gonna get the best out of you. If you want to get outdoors, he gonna get the best out of you. Just know it was all worth it. It was worth it and everything.
Absolutely. A couple questions in the chat or comments in the chat here. This week in Arena Ball, huge Albany Firebird fan. Yo, it's Albany's Firebirds running back Desmond Maxwell. Super excited to see you on the show today. Still keeping hope that an AFL return is in the works, even if it's for 2027 or 2028. That's certainly a hope to keep. I'm kind of surprised anybody wants to see the league back, to be honest. But Desmond, you and I talked off camera about this. As Krish alluded to earlier, you're kind of a Kentucky guy. You played college in Kentucky. So I have to ask you about the most recent team to be added to the AF1, the Kentucky Barrels. I mean, obviously that's in your backyard, very close to home. First of all, what do you think about the branding of the Kentucky Barrels? Let's go there first.
It's a great brand, and like I said, I want to say I don't drink a whole lot, but we do got a lot of liquor, a lot of whatever the logo stands for. We do have that, so it's a pretty cool brand. It's something different. It's like we see a lot of a lot of the similar brands like cowboy hats and stuff like that. Like, but that's a unique branding, and that's what Kentucky stands for. Is like the the borough of the alcohol and stuff like that and everything. So it's a good resemblance of Kentucky.
Gotcha. So obviously, as I talked to you off camera about, obviously when that team came out, I'm sure it piqued your curiosity a little bit. Talk to me a little bit about your thought process when it goes into 2026. Is that the goal? You want to go play for the Kentucky Barrels, or are you hesitant after your most recent experience with Iowa, West Texas, Orlando, and you're more looking at a return to Auburn? And if you don't feel
Uh,
comfortable answering that question right now, that's perfectly fine.
I mean, I'm not hesitant, but I got to see what the pieces are around in order for me to go to Kentucky Borough. I got to see what's coming in, like who's all coming in. I know the owner is. I want to say he used to own Corpus Christi. I want to say what he was. He took over Corpus Christi throughout the year when they was going through what they was going through. But I want to say like I want to see like what pieces he's bringing in and everything. So I'm open. I'm all ears this year. Like this is probably most likely gonna be the last year I play. So I'm looking at any organization I'm looking to go to. I'm looking to win the championship and finish out strong. Finish my arena careers out strong.
Slightly bummed to hear that this is your last year, but I completely understand. You've achieved a lot in your career, so definitely can understand walking away on your own terms and hopefully with another championship ring on your finger. Chris, do you have any questions for Daron?
Yeah, my final question for you is kind of when you approach, free agency, what's the biggest deciding factor for you? Is it money? Is it culture fit? How do you decide, where you land in 2026?
Uh, how do I decide? How First I decide who's the quarterback, who's going to be the quarterback, how the offensive line is looking, and mostly just how am I going to be used in that offense? Because I can bring so many things to the offense. So I just want to see how I'll be used, and then like I just gotta see what the coach is like. The vibe, like I said, I came from a great coach. I came from two great coaches. That was Orlando and Albany, and can't nobody top Albany. So like I said, Albany's a vibe, man. So I'm like I said, I'm all ears this year though. I'm all ears.
Ooh, you said Albany's a vibe. It can't be matched, Sam. What, Desmond, what are three things that you would give a rookie
What I would give a rookie,
playing in the AFL?
three things I would give a rookie. Uh, be on time to meetings. Could work hard, even when you think coaches is not messing with you. And if you wanna get back outside, put in the work. You gotta put in the extra work. You gotta put in the film. You gotta put in the meetings. You gotta put in the film. You gotta put in the weight room work. You gotta continue to grind. Like you gotta continue to do what you gotta do in order to be successful on and off the field.
Love that advice. TJ, do you have anything else?
How long till you get that ring?
Honestly, I don't know. I sent my ring size in about a month ago or sometime. We sent our ring sizes in, so I don't know. I just know when I get that ring, it's going on the finger and it's going to be showing off. So that it's going to be a nice ring. So I'm prepared to show. I'm going to show the thing. I'm going to show my high school kids. This is what you do when you work hard and continue to do what you do. You continue to get to play football at the highest level, at a professional level, get paid to do it, and and you love it. So I'm gonna show my kids my rings.
Absolutely.
I love that.
And the best part is too when you have it on, the memories of the season that come back to you. It's forever a reminder of how awesome that year was. So it's definitely gonna be cool when you get it.
Yeah, I know. Like I was just me and a couple of boys. We still stay in contact with each other. We all in group messages and stuff like that. I was just telling them, man, I miss y'all, man. It was just like like on some brother. It was on some brother love, like cause you know we all vibes together. It really was a vibe in Albany. Like people can say what they want, but going 12-0 and just dominating the league and handling business like we supposed to, ain't no better feeling, man. That's why I said it's gonna be. I'm all ears this year, but Albany, y'all, yeah, you gotta compete, But it's just like I said, I'm just playing, but yeah, like I'm all ears, man. I'm looking to come in and just help any team, be a leader, and just win another championship. I'm all about winning, so is Albany and other teams as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, from what I've heard, it sounds pretty hard to compete with Albany, which, nothing wrong with that. At the end of the day, we need teams like Albany to kind of raise the standard across the sport and make it better for players and coaches in general. So I really do like to hear that to a certain extent, that they take care of their players and create a great atmosphere, which not a surprise. We're big fans of Damon Ware here. Great coach, great man. So it's awesome to see you guys all find that success. I have to ask though, I mean, as an athlete, you just completed an undefeated season. unblemished. You guys, I think you had one game where it was competitive, really. Every other game you guys had it pretty well in hand. Like, how do you continue to strive for more than that? And like, how do you even improve upon an undefeated season like that as an individual, as a team? I mean, where do you even begin on that?
It starts from top to the bottom. It's just you just gotta go in with the mindset of handle business and do what you gotta do in order to be great. Like everybody on that team, we knew what the end goal was. Like we weren't trying to give no team no hope to stay with us, but we knew what the end goal was, and that was to win the championship. In order to win the championship, we got to go in and compete in practice. Practice is a lot harder than it was in the games. So we had to compete and do what we had to do.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, so it was just had to handle our business and take it there.
Absolutely. Looks like you got a little munchkin of your own running around, so we won't take up too much of your time. Anybody else have any final questions you want to get in before we let Desmond get out of here for the day? No, I think we are good. Okay. Thank you so much for your time this morning, Desmond. We really appreciate it. And tell your child as well. Thank you for allowing us to steal you for a little while.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. Congratulations on the championship win, sir. And we look forward to seeing where you end up in 2026.
Yes, sir.
Best
Thank
of
you. I
luck, man.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Have a great day, and we'll catch you hopefully on another episode. We would love to have you back after you get your ring. You can come on and show it off for us.
Yes, sir. I got you.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
No
All
problem.
right. With that being said, we are going to hit a quick commercial, and we will be back to discuss some AF1 topics. There really isn't a ton of news on this episode, but we'll still figure out some stuff to discuss for you guys. And we're waiting on who's our next guest, Coach Rez, right?
Yeah, and then Coach Davis, I think. After that.
Yeah, that miscommunication. Coach Davis will be on in about half an hour. So he will be on. I did talk to him this morning, and that was just my fault, miscommunication. I'm trying to go from East Coast time to Pacific time. I lost something in translation so that's on me 100%. But just a shout out once again to the Omaha Beef for sponsoring this show. Really appreciate you guys helping us keep this platform running. So we'll go ahead and play their commercial. I'll drop the link in the chat. As always, go support the Omaha Beef and all of your local indoor football teams, no matter where you live.
SeatGeek is the ticketing app for fans like Boomstick Lady. No free throw is safe from the roar of her sticks. SeatGeek helps her find a seat in the direct eye line of the shooter so she can sit where her boomsticks make the biggest boom. Everybody okay? SeatGeek handles the tickets to sports, concerts, and more, so fans can fan.
All right, we need a couple boomstick ladies in down here in Colorado. So if anybody's taking applications or willing to put in an application for that position, I will happily take all applications on behalf of the two teams that we have here now. Talking about the AF1 news recently, the big news, or at least the most recent announcement from any of these teams, is the announcement that Devin Miles has been hired as the defensive coordinator for the Washington Wolfpack, a team which, in my personal opinion, seems to be on the way up. They've taken several steps this offseason to kind of fill out their front office. Now they're bringing in veteran coaches to hopefully find some more sort of improvement there. What are you guys' thoughts on the addition of Coach Miles? I'll go to Coach B first.
It kind of makes me scary about Oregon now. What is Oregon gonna do? They just lost their defensive coordinator, assistant head coach. So it makes me wonder, but it's a great hire for the guys up in Washington. I've been hearing about an offensive coordinator that they hired as well. Who's going to be a great hire for them. So I think he's building. But now it makes me look at Coach Chuck to see what's going on over there.
Fair point. Fair point. I mean, you do have to kind of wonder about that. And it was something I honestly had not even considered earlier. You know, this is kind of a year-to-year business, but that is a big blow to Oregon. So that's something that we would have to kind of monitor and see how big of a difference we see on with Oregon. So, TJ, what are your thoughts on Coach Miles in Washington?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be an improvement and help them out. You know, they're locking and reloading, which is good because they didn't have the best season last year, so they're looking to try and actually get into that playoff push. And I think with some of the moves that they're making now already this offseason, it's looking really good. I do agree with Coach B, though. It does make you question what's going on with Oregon, though, losing that. So, good for Washington and question marks left for Oregon, in my opinion.
Absolutely. This is one of those moves where not only do you bring in a veteran coach, but you also kind of take a little jab at a regional opponent. So it's not a bad move from that perspective. Krish, what are your thoughts? I'm sure you've got lots to say.
Yeah, I like Coach D. Millie. He's been around for a while. He played in Alaska with Coach Fuller. He's played with a couple of different teams with Coach Fuller. So, he has a good, good mentor over there. For me, like all the hoorah, jump up and down, wolf, run with the pack, all that's old. That's old. You know what I mean? Like, I understand, you're excited for the season, but that's old. This team is 4-14 in 2 years, right? You're losing 71-4. You need to, just be silent and build. Just be silent and build and show us on the field. I won't believe anything with that franchise until they show me on the field because I bought into it last year when he was saying, oh, this is our year, this is our year. Like, I think they need to build a line and they need to build the offensive line and defensive line for that team. The skill positions aren't as bad as everyone thinks. I think the receiving core is fine, but the offensive line and defensive line is horrible all around. And so for me, like getting a guy like D. Millie, are they able to retain a Shy Hill? Are you able to retain an Akil Greer? Akil Greer is coming back to Washington, by the way. So they were able to retain him. But are you able to attain, is he able to bring in high-level pieces from Oregon? If I'm Coach Wells, it's a no-brainer. I'm letting him build the defense. You got to understand, Oregon had a great team. They had a really good football team. They had guys on the team. I mean, I can just name some names. Chris Lewis, obviously we saw what he did. Maurice Ashley, right? Top kick returner in the league. Donovan Ali, receiver from Colorado State. He's a starting receiver for the Arizona Rattlers. Now he just re-signed with them for 2026. Richie Anderson, right? He went to Corpus and he was their leading receiver. They had ballers on that team. The issue is that they couldn't put it all together. So if I'm Coach Wells, I'm staying out of the recruiting and I'm letting D. Millie handle it because I know for a fact that man can recruit and build. No doubt. No doubt.
But that's the thing. That's the thing, Chris. G. Millie and them did build that team, but the coaching was the problem up there. They couldn't make proper adjustments or put people in the right place to win. So I really don't think it's a big hire for Washington. I do think Washington need to move on from their head coach and start a new culture up there. D. Millie's a good coach, but they still wasn't a winning organization in Oregon. So it ain't like you're not adding a great hire. You're adding an okay hire.
That's certainly one way to look at it. I mean, I do think at the end of the day, you are gaining something more than just a coach. Like Chris said, you're getting a guy who can come in and help with the recruiting process, which is an issue in Washington, more so than it was in Oregon, I would believe. But like Chris said, you've got pieces to build on in Washington. I mean, I think the big question mark right now is kind of glaring need, and obviously that's quarterback. After all the different moves that Washington made at quarterback last season, we really don't know who is going to end up being the guy there for quarterback. So it'll be very interesting to see how that all pans out for them. And I mean, you can have the greatest offensive line, defensive line, and wide receiver group in the world. If you don't have a quarterback to throw them the ball or divvy up the ball, then you're probably not going very far. But speaking of a man who knows all about building an offensive line and being a part of a great offensive line, thank you to CJ Kane for joining us this morning, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Doing great. Thank you for joining us this morning. We really appreciate it. How's everything going in Beefland over there?
Oh man, everything's going well. Just kind of putting the final touches together on what we want this roster to look like. We've announced quite a few signings. Still have some we haven't announced yet, but we're just taking it day by day, really nailing home partnerships and putting together the pieces for the schedule release, and just kind of building more and more excitement for this upcoming season.
Absolutely. We will definitely be getting to a couple of your signings here shortly. Is there anything else AF1 related you guys want to discuss before we move on to the NAL?
I did want to, kind of touch on this too about, D Millie and everything. Like, I wonder how much of a motivator style of coaching matters in the AF1. When they're going against a guy like I Bet, where like X's and O's coaches versus motivators, I'm taking the X and O's coaches every day of the week in the AF1, in my opinion. So it's just something to look at. I think my main thing with the AF1 is like, how do you grow from here? Like, where do you go? Are there any more teams expected to come? Do you stop expansion? I mean, we, kind of heard some things on the back end, but I just wonder, like, what if you guys were, managing expansion? What regions are you looking at? What markets are you trying to build with going forward?
Well, I mean, I'll go ahead and jump in here. I think there's a couple obvious teams that you should be contacting and seeing about their interest. And I mean, obviously, you look at what happened in the NAL, and Wheeling and Columbus have kind of been removed from the website. They're obviously looking at their options. That's a conversation you have to have, in my mind. You've got Albany, you've got Nashville, so you have somewhat regional playing partners that would help some of the travel situation there. So I think that could be a conversation you could have. I would be also looking at all those IFA teams, looking at, not necessarily bringing them in. You want to have a conversation, look at their financial situation, what they've got left over from last season, if they would even be interested in indoor ball, all that stuff. So there's a couple teams there that you should at least have a conversation with. Other than that, I don't really know that there's much out there. I mean, all these teams are kind of playing musical chairs and finding their seat where they fit in. So as of right now, it's there's really not a ton of teams out there to target, honestly.
I saw CJ had his hand up. What you got on there, CJ?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it has to go to what Sam was saying. Like, you have to, anytime you start a newer league, you have to find ways to cut cost in a way that doesn't be a detriment to what the product is on the field. So with you having a team in Kentucky, Nashville, Albany, you need to try to kind of gear more towards that, like East Coast to slightly head Midwest, but you don't need to expand. Like, their next expansion shouldn't be a team in California or Arizona or something like that, where now you're just asking ownerships to pay boatloads of money to travel, to be able to play these games. So I think they need to really focus on like trying to make it very regionalized, and then when it starts growing organically, then you start expanding to those further markets. I do want to say, I know I didn't get a chance to say when I hopped on. Just want to give a shout out to all of our fans for coming to Fan Fest. Hopefully everyone enjoyed it, enjoyed our atmosphere, getting to meet some of our players. But just want to give a shout out to them and Voodoo Taco. But yeah, just wanted to do a quick plug there. But yeah, so back to the AF1 expansion. Yeah, I think Kentucky makes good sense geographically, but if they could try to get, a Wheeling, Columbus, heck, try to bring back a team in Carolina, hopefully would love to see Orlando come back, but just trying to really hammer down that East Coast so where you have enough playing partners to where if you are traveling to a Washington, it's only a one time per season situation.
My
I like
thing
that
would
thought.
be,
Go ahead,
I would
Coach.
say, Sam, before you look at any expansion, you got to look at how many teams you're gonna retain, or every team in the league coming back first. Every team is in a good idea situation first. We look at that before we look into expansion. And then when we do go look at expansion, like Kane said, you need to build the West. The West and the Midwest is pretty cool. You need to start building up the South and the East to get more out of the league. Right now, people don't take it serious because it's not a stable league. You don't know who's coming and going, and we need to start making sure we expose that to the fans. Are these teams coming in, the new franchises? Are they 2 or 3 year contracts? Where they gonna be staying? We got to worry about. You got to start betting. How is the betting process for these leagues too? That's what I want to know. What do you guys ask for? What is the minimum or the maximum that you want from a team coming in? It just has to make sense because we get too many teams that's dropping off nowadays, and it's not beneficial for players or the leagues. I know you said Columbus and Willie. I heard they had financial troubles last year. So would it be smart for them to join the AF1?
I would say this, Coach, to you. I look at Beaumont, right? For me, we see their setup. Their setup is far from one of a professional team, right? The dashers, the turf, everything. So for me, when they went to the AF1, that felt like a move of desperation to me for the league, right? They're trying to add teams just to fill up spots. And I'm scared the AF1 is running out of time to add teams, in my opinion.
Couple things. I can't really say too much on what I know, but I know there are other teams that are currently applying for the AF1. Whether they get in or not, we'll see. There's obviously a long time to go before we may get an announcement. And then on top of that, I have heard that the AF1 is trying to sign teams to multi-year contracts to hopefully build some stability in the foundation of the league. On one hand, I do like it. On another hand, I do know that there are teams that look at that and wonder if they want to sign on for multiple years in the AF1 just based on what's going on right now. So it's kind of a catch-22 for the AF1 right now. They're stuck in between a rock and a hard place where they weren't necessarily the cheapest league to operate in. They had a lot of good things going for them. Whether I thought the Evergreen Now partnership was going to be a good thing. I was wrong on that, which Krish, we can discuss that here in a second. And then on top of that, like I really liked the Vice TV deal. However, there's nothing to say the Vice TV comes back with Evergreen Now. Krish, you can go ahead and fill that in, but there's some news around Evergreen Now as well now too. So that with that, and then the teams that are kind of wavering on what to do, there's a lot of question marks around the AF1 right now. So I don't necessarily say that the league is done by any stretch. There's too much of a foundation there for it to just disappear currently, but I do think that they have some serious work to do after last season. But Krish, if you want to fill us in on the news on Evergreen Now, that'll clear some things up.
Yeah, so Evergreen Now put out a statement, and in a month they're going to be disbanding their platform. So they're shutting down, they're folding. For me, like this is a big hit on the AF1, right? Evergreen Now is not just a streaming platform for them; it was a hub of content. So they put their shows, I know AF1 Fan Zone was on there. I believe Off the Wall. I believe we were trying to get on there as well. I think it was a platform. And so now that platform is taken away. So like picture like the IFL network going away completely. At like all the games are done. Everything is done. So I think I don't know, do you put everything on YouTube? Like, what do? Do you find a new partner? There's so many questions. Like, this now puts another wrench in the yard for the league that they have to find a solution to. Which
Agreed.
is good for sure.
Agreed. And there's some stuff there, like Evergreen Now was more than just a streaming partner for the league. It wasn't like it was just a YouTube situation where you upload your content and then you set it and forget it. There was a lot more going on partnership wise behind the scenes between Evergreen Now and the AF1 than you would have expected. So it's a bigger blow than a lot of people might think right now. So comments like this, where just move all the games to Vice TV, that's tough. There's a cost for that. But what were you saying, Coach B?
Like you just said, it's a cost for that, and we got to fit in with other shows, other segments that've been playing on Vice TV. Do the schedules fit? Uh, I thought Evergreen Now was a hell of a platform. It actually set them apart from IFL and them to me. So losing them is very hurtful to the league. Now you got to replace it, and I don't think you're going to replace it with a platform such as the same. Now you're going to have to spend more money to find a streaming platform that's adequate and beneficial to the fans and yourself as a league.
And also the time slot too. You need to find a streaming platform where you're not the fourth or fifth priority. I'm just gonna be real, like the Sunday night slot for Evergreen Now. Those games would start at 7 Eastern. But in Washington, it's 4 p.m. Right? So you're having games on 4 o'clock on a Sunday, and your main audience you're trying to target or bring in is families. Well, on a 4 o'clock on a Sunday, families are getting ready for dinner, right? So that's a huge kind of, going the backwards direction. So for me, I would find a streaming platform where I'm guaranteed to be in the top 3 priority. Like, sorry, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but you're not going to find that until you produce enough viewership to where it makes sense. I mean, you look at the prime AFL on ESPN, they were prime time kickoffs, but they still had games on a Sunday afternoon or a Sunday night, or, some of it comes down to arena availability as to when that game kicks off or what day, things like that. But here's the thing, like, as much as we want any of these the IFL, NAL, AF1, TAL, any of these other leagues to be on like a mainstream streaming service, like Coach B said, man, it costs money. And like, at the end of the day, money is what cripples franchises. More teams fold because of out of pocket expenses than they do anything. I mean, I heard this. I talked to a former owner before, and he said, "Look, man, it's not for 95% of teams. It's not if they're going to fold; it's when they're going to fold. Same with leagues. So until they find like stability, and that's across all leagues, you can't worry about having some massive streaming partner until you can say, hey, here's 8 teams or 6 teams that we feel are going to be here long term. They've got great arenas. The turf looks great. The nets look great. The production is great. Because, I mean, why am I going to sit here and spend money as a league to put on a show, put on a telecast of a game on whatever network or whatever streaming service, and the cameras are cutting out every other play, or the stream is freezing up every other play? Like, so until everyone is getting to that standard, until leagues have standards, which they're working towards, I don't think you need to worry about having streaming services and being on these big platforms. Yes, and YouTube is free, but also after a certain point, if you want to start running ads and making money and stuff and monetizing, then you have to change the the way that you're doing things. Like, you can't just show commercials, you can't just do certain things. So yeah, you can put the games on YouTube, but at the end of the day, every organization is a business and they're trying to turn some sort of profit or at least break even. So yes, YouTube is free. You can put every game on YouTube, but what is that doing for your bottom line? What is that doing to increase your ability to be seen? Because if we're playing a game in Omaha, what does it do to? Well, you can't. Okay, yeah, all right, but anyway, if you're playing a game in Omaha, well, YouTube's going to show a game anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world. So, it doesn't do anything for our bottom line in Omaha for fans in California to be watching the game. That's the thing you have to battle with such a niche sport is, are you going to be able to get enough fans interested in the game to warrant having a primetime spot on a bigger network or a bigger streaming platform? So, that Sunday game that Krish is referring to, I mean, that happens all the time, regardless of the league. Like you're gonna play Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday afternoons. I mean, it's just whenever your arena's available and everything work. Heck, I can remember in 2023 we played Orlando on Mother's Day at 3 o'clock. So it just really depends on what your arena availability is, and then that also plays in a fact of who can stream those games.
Yeah. And I want to go back to this real quick. YouTube is not free, just so everybody's aware. These teams still have to pay some sort of production cost for those games. I mean, whether it's just a film crew or what have you. I mean, think about it. All these teams have announcers. All of them have, like I said, the film crew, which they also have to set up the score bug, and all this stuff costs money at the end of the day. Trust me, I know. we witness it every day here at Shady Sports Network. So all of this stuff, even if you're just paying for the materials to make it yourself, it still costs money, regardless of how you look at it. So with that, what CJ's saying is the monetization side of YouTube is so difficult for leagues like this because you might play a commercial and that commercial has a song in it that gets flagged, and all of a sudden your game's removed from YouTube. And that's something the NAL ran into last year. They had games removed from YouTube. They saw very little, if any, benefit from the monetization side of YouTube. And that's something every league is trying to get to, right? They all want to find a way that they can put their product on TV, get in front of the most fans possible, but most importantly, monetize the viewership. That's what this is all about. It's a business, like CJ said. So if you can't monetize on YouTube, you have to look for other partners. And that's why Evergreen Now is such a crucial partner for the AF1, because the monetization pathways were a lot easier than YouTube. Your games weren't going to get removed for a song or something like that. And so with that going away, I personally think it's a rather large blow. But with that all being said, I think we've spent quite enough time on the AF1. We have another guest with us, so we're going to play a quick commercial, and then we'll come back with Coach Resignaldo, previously with the Wheeling Miners. So really, really excited to have Coach Rez on. It's been a long time coming, and thank you to Krish for making this happen. So appreciate that. All right, we are back. Thank you so much, Coach Rez, for joining us. Really appreciate your time this morning.
Absolutely. Appreciate y'all having me.
Absolutely. Krish, I'll let you kick this one off.
Yeah, Coach Reds, I appreciate your time. You know, my first question for you is kind of entering 2026 free agency. What's your approach and how is everything looking?
Yeah, so really just kind of letting things play out. A lot of prayer and guidance, and talking to some people that are close with me, and really just want to be in a good situation. I'm at the point in my career now where I'm not trying to be messing around with BS and and stuff like that. So really want to be in a solid situation. Got a lot of been talking with quite a few different people about things, and a couple options out there. So just really determining what's going to be best, and kind of see what comes up.
Makes perfect sense. I want to ask you, I mean, I know you put out a statement, and if you don't want to elaborate too much on this, I completely understand, but what kind of led to your decision to ultimately step away from the minors after 2 years?
Ultimately for me, it was just time to move on. When you get, I like to think that I have a decent relationship with majority owner Chris Duffy. We've known each other for a little bit now. When you have other owners that come on board and they're part of the equation, and things start to get convoluted where everyone's vision's a little bit different. And as an owner, you have the right to determine what direction you want to go for your team. That's your team, so you're able to do those things. But as myself and as a coach, I have that same right to where if I don't agree with our visions don't align, it's time for me to go elsewhere as well. So everyone has their purpose, and you don't always have to agree with the decisions that are made. So it's not like I left in the middle of the season. I finished out the way we wanted. The season didn't finish in the way that we wanted it to, but it was just the right time. It's all about timing. So for me, it was that time to. I left them in good hands. They have everything in order. They're quickly realizing how much that I actually did. So I am helping and answering questions along the way with their transition for whatever they have going on. But, I want the team to be successful regardless. There's still some local people that I grew close to there that are still associated with the team in some capacity. So, I hope things work out for them. But for me, the direction that they were wanting to go, that wasn't in my plan for where I'm at right now. If I was a young coach, maybe. But not, right now I want to be in a really good, situation across the board.
Makes perfect sense. TJ, do you have anything?
No. Yeah, with your history of winning championships and everything else, where do you your future holding? Do you have any possible landing spots?
I've definitely been talking with some people with the NAL. I was trying to, work some angles with the IFL. The IFL is, hard to break in from the outside. It's almost turning in like how the AFL used to be, to where if you weren't a part of that group, it was going to be tough. So there's a lot of promotion within, which is great. Don't get me wrong. I feel like I have enough contacts in the IFL to where eventually I will work myself in there. So it's just, I don't really have any specifics. There are a couple teams that I've talked to that are, higher up as far as, what determining, where I'm going to go. I'm looking to be in a very good situation. When I say very good, I mean not dealing with BS on the outside from owners and bills being paid and, the whole nine that you see in the nightmares of indoor arena football. I've lived through all of them, good, bad, ugly. And through my time, I know what not to do. So that is what I'm looking for. And there's some great organizations out there. Omaha, see CJ on here. What's up, man? Congrats to you with your position. Long time coming for you. Well deserved. Hell of a dude too. So hope nothing but the best for you. But Omaha Beef is one of them. Colorado's up and coming. With Tony, what Tony's doing out there, and Coach Shaw. You got some AF1 stuff that's in the works with some things, but no one really knows how that's going. And they know how it's going. All these rumors about teams leaving, leagues doing this, leagues doing, no one knows that stuff except for the teams themselves or the actual league themselves. So when you hear all this stuff, it makes it fun for you guys, in the media world aspect of it, of, speculating of who's doing what. So nothing really hammered down yet. I'll probably be making a decision here pretty soon. So we can get rolling with wherever I end up at. Had some great conversations with some people. So it's just a matter of what's going to fit best for everybody. It isn't just for me. It's got to fit for the team too, for what they have going on.
Absolutely. Coach B, you got anything?
Good morning, Coach Rez. How's it going, man? Congrats on all your accomplishments. I got a 2-point question for you. One is, tell us about where your journey started, how you became a coach, and up to now. And then secondly, I know you touched on it, but give us a glimpse of your ideal coaching spot, of what a team supposed to look like to help some of these new owners trying to come in and want to start a arena franchise. Let them know what an ideal situation would look like.
Yeah, for sure. So to start, first and foremost, I always let everyone know when they first meet me that I am a Marine. I served 2 tours in Iraq in 2003 and 2004. 2004, I was in Battle of Fallujah, and that was enough for me to get out. So I got out in 2005, originally from California. I played football. I played high school football. I didn't play in college. I actually went to the Marine Corps right after high school. I did play football in the Marines, which was pretty cool. There's a lot of athletes in the military, so that was pretty awesome. First time ever seen when a player comes off for a water break, so to speak, and instead of drinking water, they light up a cigarette real quick before they run back out onto the field, which I thought was hilarious. But the 2 years I did not play in the Marines, I was in Iraq. So obviously there was no football playing in the beautiful deserts of Iraq. So brought me to the East Coast. I was stationed at Camp Lejeune. When I got out, I actually was going to go back to school. I was looking to go back to college to finish school, and then I was going to play football, obviously. And it was a university, CJ will know this school, University of Pembroke. They came back in 2006 after a hiatus of not having a football program. But at that time for me, it just when being married and a child, college football really wasn't looking like it was going to be in the cards. So I started dabbling around some stuff, and then I found indoor arena football, which I had knew of arena football, AFL style, and always thought that was really cool. And so I was in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I actually tried out for a team called the Raleigh Rebels in the AIFL. The AIFL had evolved from to the AIFA and through that whole, this whole cycle, which now coming back is the AIF, which it's, not what it used to be back in the day, because there was 20 some teams back in then, and Daytona Beach Thunder. I mean, I could name all the Reading Express, all these older teams that have had some success, and that was some good football. It was basically like AF2 at the time is what it was. So tried out for this team called the Raleigh Rebels. Didn't make it. It was an indoor arena football. It was brand new to me, and I'm like, this is freaking nuts, actually being in it as a quarterback. But then another tryout came. I kind of seen what I needed to work on and how things developed. Everything was much faster. So made the team the second time, and so that was pretty cool. That was really how I got into it. Played for the Carolina Speed in 2000. What was it? 2007, I believe it was. And then I quickly realized $250 a week, wasn't cutting it for me. So being married and whatnot, that's a grind. But also what kind of led to the coaching aspect of it was, I'm a football guy. I'm a sports guy as it is. So I was one of those guys that didn't go to play college. So I wasn't at this major school or anything like that. I should have got a lot more playing time than I had. But since I wasn't at a D1 school, at the time, I really didn't get much opportunity. So I said to myself, this is an awesome experience. I don't want to not be a part of it. So how can I, get more involved? Started getting into some scouting stuff and whatnot with the AFL at the time. But I really told myself, when I have the opportunity to coach, I'm not going to care where they came from, who they played for, what leagues were they in. If you can play, you can play. And so I've taken that with me through all these years. And as you guys, Krish, you followed me, through the years, I've given some guys that might not been known who they were and given the opportunity to showcase what they can do. And they're breakout guys. The one main for me that always stands out, I always talk about in my training camps. You guys remember Malachi King, played wide receiver for Albany Empire at the time when AFL, started with me in high country. Real under radar guy because he went to App State, so he didn't really get a whole lot of recognition. But dude was a stud, and it took him a few years to actually get an opportunity in Chicago on special teams. It helped with Nagy being a coach, being an arena guy, to help him getting involved with that, aspect. But, it can happen. So I try to help as many people as I can, continue their path and showcase what they can do. And I've been with some good teams, some bad teams, some great ownerships, bad ownerships. So I really feel it's taken this whole time, this whole evolution of my coaching background to where I am now to really prepare me for where I'm going. So I've been in 19 seasons in this game, 2 years as a player, 17 as a coach, finishing last season. I feel like I've earned, my time and put in a lot of work to really set myself up for what's ahead.
I would completely agree. You've had a lot of success for a good reason. And you're very well respected. I mean, if you look around, you got a ton of comments here in the chat. Ricky says, Coach Rez, great seeing you again, my man. Coach Negron, Coach Rez, always will be grateful for what you did for me. You do need a haircut, though. You're looking old. I love the relationship that you and Coach Negron have, especially when you guys were coaching against each other in the NAL last season. It seemed like you guys were making jabs at each other quite a bit, but it's always in good fun, right? Which I loved about you guys. So I have to ask, I mean, you mentioned a couple minutes ago that the IFL is really tough to break into. Correct me if I'm wrong, a couple of years ago, I think it was right before you joined Wheeling, actually, you had decided to, well, first you had decided to take the job with Tulsa, and then you ultimately decided to step away. Was that due to Wheeling coming about? I'm forgetting the timing there, so I'm not sure how close together they were.
Yeah, so Tulsa would have been the 2023 season. The 2023 season. And when I had left Carolina, got it with Coach Jones. I was going to go there and be the offensive coordinator. For me, really hadn't really talked about this a whole lot, but it was getting close to report time to heading on out there. They were a new franchise. There wasn't a whole lot of stuff in order yet. Coach Jones was still trying to get his feet wet with all the surroundings of what the ownership was trying to do, what the resources are going to be, where they're staying. All those things really weren't in place yet. And I guess I probably could have just stuck it out and just to see where it developed. But in my mind, being married, 2 kids in North Carolina, just picking up and going to, now I wasn't moving a family. It was just myself going, but going to Tulsa, Oklahoma, not really having an understanding of where we're living, where I'm staying, those type things for me. I've seen all that before. And I had to make a decision overall for me that wasn't going to be the best move for me at that time. And great to see what they're doing because they're killing it on off the field stuff, right? That's the business aspect of it that you look for, that you want to make sure is solid. I think they just won Organization of the Year in the IFL. I mean, and it's well deserved. I mean, I think they've averaged 9,000 fans a game, But what a lot of people don't understand, like coaches in my role, there isn't a lot of guys that do what I do. There's a lot of coaches out there. There's a handful of us that do everything across the board from the sales, community aspect. I mean, you name it. if there's an aspect of the game, business or on the field, off the field, I do it. And there isn't a lot of coaches that do that. So it's tough to really make sure what you're getting into across the board. And they ended up being really solid. So, kudos to them and that ownership group. But they had a full staff, right? Their hockey organization is the same ownership group. So when you really dive into the business, and I know we kind of went off the rail here a little bit, but when you look into the business side of it, like you got to see who's involved in running the teams, right? The organizations that have a solid foundation in the front office, they're probably been pretty successful. And they've probably been around a little bit. Like you look at Omaha, been there 20-some years. Sioux City, 20-some years. Arizona Rattlers, Jacksonville Sharks. And you can just go on and on and on of these teams that have success is because the ownership groups and the front offices, it's not about football. It's about the entertainment, the business aspect of, and then by the way, a football game breaks out, right? So, but you have a lot of coaches that don't understand the business side of it. So they just want, or they want to do this, or they want to do that. They want to add this, and they want, all these things, but you're not realizing where's that money coming from? Like, are you going to go help get sponsorships? These coaches want to make a lot of money. I get paid pretty well where I go, but because the value of what I bring and what I do, presents that. And I help raise money for the organization. So a lot of these coaches can make a ton, and owners are going to hate this when I say this, but coaches can make a hell of a lot more money if they contribute to the business side. And that I wish I could, everyone talks about Ricky having a class on sales and all this stuff. I wish I could have a class to explain to coaches, like I'm the motivational speaker, get out there in the community and sell sponsorships and you will make more money. The owners will pay you more money to help bring in money to the organization. Now, some coaches don't want to do that. They just want to coach. I get it, but this isn't the NFL, right? So this is straight. All these levels now are like AF2 style, front offices, everything. It's true minor league sports. Your AFL guys are spoiled because they didn't have to do all that extra stuff. So you don't see the, I don't want to say names because I don't want to say how much. I don't really know all what they do, but majority of the AFL coaches, real coaches, they don't do all that stuff. They just coach, but they got paid to do so. This isn't that level, right? But now the AF1 isn't the same as AFL. We can all just speak on and say it's not yet anyway. They're trying, right? But you got to contribute, right? And that's, you see a lot of these teams that are struggling and have issues and whatnot. I promise you, their coaches aren't in the community doing marketing and sales and all that stuff. They're just waiting to expect to show it up on game day. And I'm in an indoor soccer facility talking about we're playing indoor arena football. But you ain't selling tickets. You ain't selling sponsors. You ain't out in the community. You're not doing speaking events. You're not helping the youth, all that stuff. But you want to be a part of it, right? So I could go on and on like with some negative stuff. It's just because you see it. You see all these leagues popping up and it's just hard, man. It just waters everything down across the board. And I used to do workouts up and down all over the country before, and actually giving guys opportunities. And it's hard when when you do things the right way, and then people are popping up doing stuff all over the place that it's just, it's just crazy. Like I'm to the point now with tryouts where I don't even want to charge guys for tryouts. I just want to have a tryout, have as many people come as possible, see what we can find. The only reason why we charge something, if you're not willing to invest $50 into yourself for 3 hours to showcase what you can do, I'm not spending thousands on you to do what we need you to do during the season, right? There's a lot of guys out there that need to go to tryouts, that have to get in front of these coaches to showcase what they can do, because coaches aren't just, I'm not going to watch semi-pro film. I'm sorry. If you're playing in an indoor soccer facility, that's kind of tough for me. I need to see you in person. Come show what you can do. But you got some diamonds in the rough. So I am thankful for my opportunity the first year with the minors, being in the AAL2, which I never would have thought I would have done that. But it opened my eyes to see some of the talent that's out there that's playing on some of these teams. So there's nothing wrong with those teams. It's just how you market yourself. There's nothing wrong with being a developmental team, or I am developing players to go on to do better things. There's nothing wrong with that. I encourage that. Players need as many opportunities as possible. But do not say you're a professional organization, this, that, and the third, and you're not paying guys and you're not housing guys. You're not doing all the things you're supposed to do, but you want to call yourself professional, right? But I found some really good players in that league, and I'll speak of one of them real quick. I don't want to talk about a bunch of guys, but Dante Mason, stud, baller. Never would have thought I would have picked him up from the Stampede when we picked him up that first year. I mean, I think we beat him 57-0 in a indoor soccer facility, pads not all the way on walls and shit, So I'll never forget walking in there. I'm like, what am I getting myself in? Like, what am I doing? Like, do I still need to be doing this? Because this is like bottom of the barrel, players. Grant Russell, coach, it's all right, man. We're right here with you. We got it. We'll make through. We'll push through. Guys like Grant Russell, right? Balling in college. Was a starter in 19 in the AFL. He's stepping. You only can imagine what's going on in the minds of some of these players when you go into there. It's just crazy. But we beat him 57-0. And I'm like, whew, I'm glad to get the heck out of here and get back on this bus and get home, because this is crazy. We get back, we're watching film. My defensive coordinator, Mott Gaiman, says, hey, check out this DB. And I'm like, we just beat these guys 57-0. Could have been worse. And so I look at the film and I see some things with this guy moving around. His footwork is awesome. He's all over the place. Didn't really notice him in the game. But as I'm watching the film, like he's flying around. He's right there. He's like a ball hawk. He's right there near all the passes. Footwork looks awesome. So you can tell that he's been coached. So we do a little bit more research on him. He played college football, was pretty solid. So we talked to him. He was interested in coming. It was a developmental league, right? So there's really no transactions. We're like, we can develop you better. So what do you want to do? And so he came. He ended up balling out. I think the first game with us, he got 4 interceptions. It was our Star Wars game. We were wearing all white, so that was pretty cool. I'll always remember that. But 4 interceptions, ended up winning Defensive Player of the Year in the league, and we went undefeated, won a championship, and all that stuff. But so brought him back, for this past season in the NAL. And just lit it up again. Defensive Rookie of the Year. He had many interceptions. It was a staple in the secondary for us, and it was awesome to see. But because we took a chance on him from a kid that I didn't even know anything about, seeing him in person, smashing him in the game, in real life, and then watching the film, seeing that okay, this kid might be pretty good if he's in a good situation, and so. I say all that in the fact that there's nothing wrong with what's going on with all the developmental leagues and all the different stuff that's happening out there and all the different things that's popping up. Because if it's about the players, I'm all about it. If it's about the players and it's going to help the players, whatever they can do. If it's a league like, the IFA, the Outdoor League, I wasn't too much of a fan of that. I really didn't think it was going to amount to anything. But at the end of the day, for me, if the players are able to make some extra money and the players are able to keep playing and it's an opportunity for them, that I hope it works. So I'm sure you guys have seen me through the years, put stuff out there or say things because I speak my mind. I'm not shy of, getting out there and saying stuff, but you really need to understand that there's a process for the players and what they're going through. So if it works for them, then you got to support it. If we're all in this, you guys, your organization, everything that we do for this game and sport, if it supports the players, you have to support it because of the players. But as soon as you see the bad stuff and everything, then it's like you almost need to have a bulletin, the Batman single up for the players to see, like, get away, don't go to that. And it's hard to tell somebody not to do something without bashing the other entity of what they're trying to go to, because you know what's going to happen. But it's almost like it's sad because they're grown men, the players, they got to figure it out. They got to realize you got to let them go through the struggle to see that, oh yeah, this ain't it. I need to go on and do what I need to do. And it's hard because you want to try to save as many as you can from making those mistakes. But I've learned early on, part of my weakness as a person and a coach, I try to help too many people, try to help as many people as possible. And sometimes that circles around and bites me in the butt sometimes. But I'm going to keep my path because that's what I feel like I'm supposed to be doing. But it's sad to see some of these guys go through some of the situations. You guys post some stuff, when leagues fall and there's players stranded in the hotels. Like, you don't want to see that stuff, right? And that's sad to see, but it happens every single season. And sometimes players, if you're watching, please do and go back and listen to some of this. If it's some of the same people involved with some of the same previous stuff, but they're starting something new, it isn't new. It's just in a different environment. It's going to be the same thing, just in a different environment. So you got to be able to be smart and do your research on who these people are. If they did the research on the IFA background stuff, they would have seen all these people have already been involved with dumb stuff, and it's not going to work. And you would have been able to make an educated decision. So just like they say, do your own research to figure it out and make your own educated decision, because unfortunately we're not listened to a lot, and it's sad, but as part of the growing process. So
no, well spoken. I put out a post earlier this week that addressed something very similar to that. And Coach Rez, you put it in great words, the words that I probably wouldn't have been able to say myself. So I really appreciate that. Unfortunately, as much as I hate to cut you short, we gotta move on to our next guest. But we would love to have you back. And actually, I'm not sure how these guys feel.
I have one more question, if you don't mind. Coach Rez, obviously in 2018 and 2019, you coached, in my mind, what's the greatest defense of all time in arena football, right? 2018, 2019 Carolina Cobras. You look at the NAL now, where does it sit in terms of level of talent amongst the other leagues?
I love the NAL, right? So that's a tough question to answer, because everyone knows the NAL isn't what it was competition-wise in the beginnings, right? But it's slowly getting back to that. And I really feel like the last couple of years, it's just been a matter of having the right people in place, the right leadership in place. Like I mentioned him earlier, Ricky, you got one of the best business minds in his game involved with the NAL. Not last season, but the previous season, he had a lot more involved as far as trying to help get everything unmessed up to what it was. I'd like to use another word, but I'll refrain. To get everything back to where it was, trying to, right? Last year was a great step for them as a whole. I think the competition last year was much better, from the previous season, and then it just kept getting better. And I'd expect it to be a little bit better this year with some of the things that they're doing and adding in. And, it's just, they got a little ways to go, I believe. And I'm sure, some of the NAL guys will tell you that as well. They got a little ways to go still, to get it back to where they need to be. But in my mind, I still believe that the playing of the NAL is similar to the IFL. It's still pretty comparable. The only difference right now is the IFL is more established. They're more organized. Everyone has their inner work. I'm sure they got their own stuff going on, but they just do a good job where it's in-house and they don't let stuff get out and people know a whole lot of stuff. What you see about the IFL is it looks pretty dang solid. The NAL, unfortunately, you see too much of the negative stuff that's out there. So, they're trying to clean all that up and get everything on the right track and whatnot. But I see the NAL being pretty strong, building back to where they want to go, and even better than that. The commissioner now, Brandon Eichert, is doing a heck of a job getting everything in order and really trying to align the NAL as a visionary of what the IFL was trying to do and complement each other. And if they do that, I would see that probably in a couple of years that you might see some opportunities for the thing for it to merge together, because eventually it's going to have to do that if they really want to make money and be successful across the board for everybody involved.
Obviously you have a great relationship with Coach McGrone and CJ, right? You coached him multiple times. What's your biggest piece of advice for them as they go into this championship or bust season?
Yeah, the biggest thing, and CJ as a player, and he is a coach. He's been a coach. A lot of people don't realize that he actually, his real life, he coaches college football. So it's a great merge for him. I don't think he's going to have any issues coaching. this game. He's already been coaching the same age guys, really, that his connection with those guys are going to be pretty easy for them to relate to. So I know he's going to do a good job with that. Coach Negron is turning into his own. He mentioned earlier on about me giving him the opportunity in Carolina and really him getting started and whatnot. And yes, I appreciate, him recognizing that, but what he's done himself, he's done. I didn't do that. Like, I didn't help him with the stuff that he did. I don't want to say I didn't help him because we talk every so often, but I didn't do any of this thing that he has done, right? He's done that. So, but to say that, he was a part of, he'll mention it about being a part of my coaching tree and stuff like that. Yeah, that's cool. But like, you're doing your own thing, man. Like, you may have learned some stuff from me, but he isn't no dummy, right? Just like myself, I've taken some from here, taken some from there, taken from this coach, taken this idea, morph it in my own thing and make my own brand, right? And he's slowly doing that for himself, and it's cool to see. And he's landed in a great spot in Omaha. So I think for years to come, Negron is the type of person that when he gets on to something and he's involved with it, like, he's in it. And so Omaha has already proven to be here for 20 some years, right? So Negron, I promise you, is going to try to be there another 20. So, with what they're trying to do. CJ, really for me, probably 2, maybe 3 years max. He'll be having his own brand and being a head coach for an organization himself, and which is cool to see because he deserves it, and he's the type of person that's going to work like that to get to those things. He's got greater and bigger ambitions than the NAL, I promise you that. So eventually at some point, with his connection and the network that he's built, we'll probably see CJ on Sundays, somewhere on the sideline. So, which is cool to see, because then I can have another team that I cheer on, just because the NFL now, I follow more players and coaches than anything. And so, you want the best for your guys no matter what.
Love that for sure. CJ, we can only hope, right? But on that note, Coach, really appreciate your time this morning. Would love to get you back on in the future. And actually, you kind of prefaced a great announcement, but next week we're going to be doing a very special episode. We'll be focused on the foundational aspects of franchises, the marketing side, the sales side, the social media side. So we got some really good guests lined up for next week. And if you wanted to drop by that episode, I feel like you've got some really good insight that would be valuable. So it's completely up to you, but I figured I'd throw out that invite for you. Yeah, man. No, I appreciate it. Anytime. Yeah, I appreciate everything you guys do. And, there's a handful of you guys that do it the right way. And so, appreciate what you guys put out there for the players and everybody. And, it's appreciated, across the board for sure. Absolutely. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate that. And best of luck in wherever you land in 2026. Absolutely. Stay tuned. Definitely. Can't wait to find out. All right. On that note, that was Coach Joshua Resignaldo, former head coach of the Wheeling Miners. And as we mentioned in this interview, a current coaching free agent. So if you're a team looking for to fill an opening, Coach Rez might be worth a call. All right, we're back with another special guest, and you guys know him now as the championship-winning head coach of the Vegas Nighthawks, Mr. Mike Davis. Coach, congratulations, and thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Uh-oh. I don't think we have any volume there on your side. All right. There we go. Now we can hear you. TJ, I know you got to get out of here pretty quickly. I know you were rooting very hard for Vegas to win this one. I'll let you kick it off on this one.
Yeah, man, I love Vegas teams. So as soon as the Nighthawks came in, I was a fan. I predicted that you guys were going to win because you were gritty. You were able to win in so many different ways, higher scoring games, lower scoring games. What made this season different where you were able to pull it off instead of falter or misstep in the playoffs?
I don't know. We don't have volume again all of a sudden. Nothing.
You might have to hop out and hop back in, Coach.
Uh-oh. We had him for a second. Maybe. All right, we'll see if we can't get that figured out real quick.
Hey, Chris, that's what a championship head coach look like and a program over there on that couch in Vegas.
There we go.
I mean, I'm happy for him, man. He deserves it, but he's getting that belt next year regardless.
Is that better?
Yeah,
that is better.
I hope he's not getting a belt by Mass or wherever y'all gonna be at, because that's a championship coach sitting on the couch, buddy. You need to pay homage.
No, sorry about that. Last year we weren't ready for the level of success that we had this year, just as a group. Guys, just I always tell people, when it's your time, it's your time, and it kind of motivated some guys, and I mean, hell, it motivated some of us coaches, and the season didn't start out this year the way we wanted. We had some hiccups. We just made some mistakes. We weren't better team. We weren't beat by better teams. We just made dumb mistakes. And we were able to kind of rally the group and get everybody going in the right direction, and it ended up working out for us.
I would say it worked out well for you guys. Talk about a great game in that championship game as well. I mean, if the IFL was looking for a showcase game to show casual fan what their product is all about, there was not a better indication than the championship game. It was so much fun to watch. But I wanted to kind of shift gears a little bit. Obviously, there's been a lot of news coming out of Vegas since the championship win or during the championship win as well, because one of your assistant coaches was recently named the head coach of the new New Mexico franchise. I know we kind of talked off camera a little bit about this situation, but do you have any words about the kind of guy that New Mexico is getting in Moore Brown?
Dude, Coach Kyle is, we've been together for 15 years almost. I've known him for just over 20. Probably one of the best coaches, O-line, D-line that you can be around, and even better man. Like, he just exudes character, and he's a great leader of young men, and he's going to be fantastic in New Mexico. I can't wait to see what they put together. But every expansion team has some struggles, but he'll figure his way out through that, and he has a big sounding board that he can lean on if he needs it.
I would agree. I was kind of looking back through his history, and he's got quite the resume for sure. So you're right. He's got a lot of people he can lean on and most likely use for hints and tips and stuff when needed. So I like that a lot. Krish, do you have anything for Coach?
Yeah, Coach. Welcome.
What's up, buddy?
I'm really, happy for you that you were able to get the win. You proved me wrong. So my question for you is, you have someone in your staff, and Evan Wilsmore, right? Younger guy. And how much of a resource is he in kind of connecting with players via social media and other avenues?
Evan's been a great resource. It's this business is about giving guys opportunities. His name actually came across my desk because through some CFL guys, they were like, hey, listen, he's way too young. He's just green. Can you help him and kind of mentor him and get him going in the right direction? And yeah. And then Daddy Daycare, ready. And then he's listened. Okay. And he's listened and done everything that he needed to do. When we started, he didn't know what he didn't know, but he was a grinder, and he could go get guys. He could go get in touch with guys. He didn't know what to say to him. But kind of once we got all that down pat. I mean, Evan's been a fantastic resource. Like we got a handful of guys on this team that he was able to get in touch with. And, I would say, hey, Evan, I'm looking for this type of guy. Here's the guys I have on my list. Can you get in touch with them? And he'd be like, yep. And he could go do that. And I mean, great young man. He's going to have a bright future.
Absolutely. Speaking of having a bright future, we got the next generation of coaches here in the background as well. So I love it. Not to spend too much time talking about your staff, but obviously that's a big reason why this team won a championship. You have a ton of great people around you, but you also just signed offensive coordinator Curtis Chin to a 2-year extension. I know, again, this is something that we've talked a lot off of camera about, but tell me a little bit about Curtis Chin's impact on the organization and how valuable he is to you.
I mean, he's the best offensive coordinator in the business. I will put any amount of money on it. The guy's work ethic is second to none. He wants to be great. He is great. And there was no way I was just going to let him stroll up out of Vegas after winning a championship. He's worth every penny that he gets, and probably deserves more, to be honest with you.
I love it. Coach Chin, I don't know what you got in your extension, but Coach Davis is already lobbying for a raise for you. So hopefully you got that. Anybody else got any questions for Coach Davis?
Coach, throughout the season, I know it was a lot of people counted you guys out. What did you do the second half of the season to turn everything around and make everybody a believer that you are the contender? Because I was right along with you every week.
I think everybody in the locker room and in the building knew we had the talent. We just weren't clicking. Like we offense will play great one week, defense struggled. Special teams and defense play one week, offense struggled. We could never get all three phases on the same page. And, we basically sit down and had a heart-to-heart in the locker room. It was like, hey, if we're doing this, like this is what has to happen. And you got to play for your brother and the brother in this locker room. And those guys did that. And, as you could see, to be able to turn around and get Wimbush, get Special Teams Player of the Year, and I hate the accolades because I think people get snubbed. Like you can't tell me that we didn't have, and I know everybody looks at stats, but offensive line wise, we had the best athletic offensive line in the league. Yes, better than masses. And I know Chris hates to say that, right? But at the end of the day, like we have a 1,000-yard receiver, the first team all running back, which Puka was good, but he couldn't stay healthy, right? You look at the accolades, Jaden got snubbed. You look at other guys. So you have a 1,000-yard receiver, a running back and a quarterback, and no lineman gets not even a, hey, thank you, pat on the back. It is what it is.
No, that's a fair point. I had actually said recently that I thought you guys had the best offensive line in the league, and that was the matchup to watch heading into that game. Actually, we talked about it very heavily here. Was your offensive line versus Green Bay's defensive line. There's a lot of talent on that Green Bay defensive line, and you guys kept them at bay pretty well and kept Jaden clean all games. So, I mean, it's a big reason why you're here talking about a championship victory, I would imagine. So definitely have to give kudos where it's due when it comes to the offensive line. I did want to ask you, though, if you saw Kevin Guy's halftime comments during his interview. I'm sure you had a little bit more pressing stuff on your plate at the moment, but have you seen them since?
Yeah, I've seen it. And I'm not commenting on what Kevin wants to say in Arizona. It's irrelevant to me. To be honest with you.
That's fair. I had to ask. I thought it was very Kevin Guy when it came out of his mouth in that interview, and I was just like, oh, okay. Very interesting. But
I mean, you ask questions knowing the answers already, right? So you can just talk, you can comment about it. I'm not getting involved in it because that's what he wants. I have no. He runs his organization how he wants. He can think what he wants, and I could care less, to be honest with you.
I agree. There won't be any asterisks on the ring receive. I'm guessing. So just a thought there, but. I wanted to also talk about another thing that was revealed during the halftime show, the IFL reality TV show, which you were featured pretty prominently in the trailer for. What are your thoughts on the new reality TV show coming?
Man, I think it's just things that are coming down the pipe for the IFL, right? Your other team, other leagues, and again, it's the standard of the industry, right? Everybody needs to to take a step forward and step up, right? From whatever league you're in. Yes, there's too many leagues, but it's a great outlet for players because everybody needs a place to play. But you get guys who it's I feel bad for some of the players that go to these teams and they fold and they get stranded and things like that. You know, it's if there's never going to be one unanimous league again because there's too many egos with owners involved. At the end of the day, you know, guys just need to do better, period. Leagues need to do better. Vetting needs to be better, you know. And as far as the reality stuff, the IFL has so many things coming down the pipe, obviously, that I'm privy to, but I can't really say yet because they're going to make an announcement on. And when it happens, people will be like, oh, okay, this is where this is headed. And it'll be a great topic and a conversation piece.
I love it. Keeping us, stocked full with news to talk about here on the show. TJ, do you have any more questions for Coach Davis?
I've been watching sports as a whole for a long time. I know it does happen sometimes, so I'm going to see if you want to answer this question. Is next year a repeat? Are you calling it now?
What is it? There's been 8 straight different IFL champions. You know, there's so much parity in this league right now. There's so many great coaches. You know, it takes a lot to win it, right? And Coach Roberson and we still talk, but we talked before, we talked after the game. I mean, one of us was going to feel like crap after the game, and one of us is going to be happy. You know, it all depends on the parity and the reload, right? Like we have a major group that wants to come back, and we're going to try to facilitate that. But it's way too early to tell that. I mean, we do this to win championships, right? And we do this to help guys get out of here. But calling my shot, I'm not that guy.
That's fair. The good question, TJ. I like it. Coach B,
I tried.
I know a lot of people question this, but I look at you, Coach Davis, as one of the best developers of a indoor arena football player. What is your method to that? You send more players up, whether it's UFL, CFL, NFL, overseas, whatever, than any other coach or scout in indoor. What is your method to it? How do you stay afloat and keep the players to buy in?
I mean, I think the first thing is identifying the guys who can play at the next level. Because let's be honest, not everybody in any indoor league can play at the next level. And you have to be real with that, right? Like, hey, listen, you're doing this because you're going to be a indoor guy. Okay, well, where can you go in indoor and make the most money? Well, most people are going to say Albany, right? And I love Coach Ware, right? But that's facts. But at the end of the day, like he's finally got off the snide and got a couple guys that are going to get opportunities, and that's good for him. It's good for every league for these guys. But you have to identify guys who can play at the next level and really who will buy into your situation. You have to be able to identify what are their pros and what are their cons. Okay, can we work on your weaknesses? During the season, are you willing to work on the weaknesses during the season? You know, you get a lot of players, and we were all players at one point, most of us anyway, that are stubborn, right? Oh, they think my ways work. Well, your way hasn't gotten you to where you need to be yet. You know, so are you willing to change the course and really dive in and really, really work? Prime example, right? Quentin Randolph, probably one of the best receivers, if not the best receiver in the IFL currently right now, based on stats and what he's done. When he first got to Vegas, he didn't know what an off-season training program was like. And so he literally got a place in Vegas, got a job. We have our old receiver coach, Tyson Boots, is probably one of the best trainers in the business that I've seen. He does NFL guys, CFL guys, some IFL guys now. And they just grinded. And his body looks completely different. And he became a pro player that's probably going to get him an opportunity to get north here in the next couple of weeks and at least see what happens.
He certainly deserves it, especially after that championship game. There was a couple grabs that he had that were just unbelievable. I wanted to talk to you about the quarterback situation. So obviously this season you came into the year with the reigning MVP and Jerome Johnson, hell of a quarterback. You know, there's a reason why you guys brought him to Vegas in the first place. But then throughout the season, you started to mix in Jaden Delora. And I thought, looking back at it, I had questions about your decision to make that move at the time, but looking back at it, it looks masterful at this point on how you kind of worked him in the offense. You ran a little bit of a 2-quarterback system there for a little while. How did you determine how to roll Jaden out up to that point?
This was funny. This was actually Coach Chin and I were sitting in the office, and he's like, "Hey, I think I'm going to do a 2-quarterback system." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he was like, "Well, we got to take care of the football. And as good as Jerome is, we had some situations where we were careless with the football and didn't take care of it, and that'll kill you in this game." And Jaden was taking care of the football, and so as we started feeding him in, and Jaden kind of took the reins, and when he got his opportunity, and ran with it, and then he pulled his hamstring, which gave Jerome another shot. And people to this day, Sam, I'll be honest, still question, "Oh, that was a terrible decision," even after we won the championship. Like, so at the end of the day, it was a feeling that Coach Chin had, and I agreed with it, and it looks brilliant right now.
It really does, and I was impressed with the way it was handled. It didn't seem like Jerome was ever 100% out of the lineup, which it obviously keeps him invested. He's going to be ready to go whenever you guys need him again. And I thought it was, like I said, I thought it was borderline masterful how you guys rolled it out and made it all work. So to whoever's criticizing that move at this point, the proof's in the pudding. So I'm not sure why you'd be criticizing it at this point. But Krish, I'm sure you've got a couple more questions you want to throw out there.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned it, right? The CFL, that being the kind of epicenter for players who play in the IFL. Their goal is to go to CFL. You coached in the CFL. You were involved in the CFL. We talk about it all the time. What's the talent gap between the CFL and the IFL, you would say?
Very small. You get like your upper echelon guys, the Kenny Lawlers of the world, up there are supreme. Like those guys could play in the IFL, could play in the NFL, right? Given the right opportunity. But I bet you I could take 25 or 30 IFL guys and not be embarrassed and take them to Canada and put them on specific rosters of need and fit. And they would compete. I don't know if they would make it through and through all the way through it, but they would compete and not make you look bad. And, what I tell people all the time is, there's a ton of talent in the IFL, and but what you need to have is you got to have health, you got to have a need, and you got to have a team you got to have a health, you got to have an opportunity and a team that needs you. And if you don't have a team that needs you, you could be the best player in the league, but you're still going to be in this league. Right. So it's all about timing. And that's the problem of this world we live in. We're an instantaneous society and everybody wants it right this second. They don't want to, you can't see the long game.
That makes sense. TJ, do you have any more questions?
No more questions. Just want to say personally, congratulations on the championship. And as a fan, I was also extremely happy about it.
Appreciate that, TJ.
I may or may not have won some money on that bet. So I appreciate that as well, Coach. Coach B, do you have any more questions for Coach?
I know you touched on it a little bit about the vetting process. What do you think should be the ideal vetting process for any league when you're bringing in new franchises for the sake of arena football, indoor football, for players and fans?
I mean, I think what I do know about the IFL is I think it starts with your actual tax returns. Like everybody says, "Oh, I have money." Well, can you prove it? Right? You can't mess up with the government. Like just get your tax returns, figure out what you have, what's liquid, what's not. Because this is not a cheap business. No matter where you're at, it is a very expensive business to be in, and it takes money to make money. And if you're going to come in here and there's some people that do it on a smaller budget, and kudos to them, right? Like the budget that somebody has, and like Coach Negron and Ricky, I know them very well, right? Like what Ricky operates on in Omaha, you would get crushed in Vegas trying to do that because everything's more expensive. Right. And so you just like, for me, we spend $251,000 in 6 months in housing. Right. Like that's some people's budget. Right now, our players live extremely nice. Don't get me wrong. But that's the going rate here in Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine the difference in cost from Omaha, Nebraska to Vegas for sure. But on that note, how much of a boon and how much value do you have in the fact that you guys are able to provide those amenities? I mean, obviously we all talk about it, $250 a game, not really a lot of money, but in Vegas, it sounds like you guys are really well taken care of, housing, meals, training, all that stuff. How has that been value wise to recruiting guys and getting them there in the first place?
Well, for us, I mean, it's the creme de la creme as far as that goes, right? Like we work out of $100 million facility. We have our own weight room in our facility. We have our players, they stay in luxury 2-bedroom, 2-bath condos in a gated community, right? Like we provide them catered lunch after every practice. You have places you go to eat, whether it's and we stay away from the fast food stuff, and that's just fortunate for us. You can go to Outback or Texas Roadhouse or barbecue spots or fish spots and stuff like that. Like we don't do the burgers and pizzas, even though some guys would rather have that, right? Nothing, and it's nothing. It's not a knock on people who do, right? Sometimes that's all you can get, right? So you got to take what you can get. But when you walk in our facility, there's a players lounge that breakfast is set up. There's a nutrition station with protein and BCAs and hydration stuff and protein bars, right? That, I'm going to treat you. One of the things that I said when I took the job was, we can't treat you like the Vegas Golden Knights, right? We can't pay you like the Vegas Golden Knights, but I can treat you like it. And the treatment that they get, and it's still getting better. It's not where I want it yet. And it's only going to get better. Obviously the success we've had here in 4 years and, being able to have some people, just a second, buddy. The sponsors, it's only going to get better for us.
Completely agree. Obviously it all starts at the top with the ownership and having the right people in place. And it sounds like Vegas is very fortunate to have a lot of great ownership and then, obviously great coaches in place as well. I don't really have anything else for you, Coach. Chris, do you have anything? TJ? Coach B? All right. I think we're basically, golden. Is there anything you want to say to the fans of Vegas before you get out of here?
No, I mean, we had a little fan fest party on Thursday afternoon. Had like 600 people show up, right? Just whether they were season ticket holders or not. We kind of packed the M Resort pool area, and it was a great time, guys. And there's still going to be some people that hate on us, like Krish, and I love it. I got to give him, got to give him at the end of the day, he's going to learn to love us, and hopefully he doesn't have blinders on the whole time.
We'll try and educate him along the way. But one thing I did want to ask you, I mean, obviously the championship game was in Tucson this year, but after seeing that Vegas Conference Championship game, how disappointed are you that this was the year after the game moved out of Vegas?
It's funny. We said that when we signed a 3-year deal. I'm like, what's going to happen? We're going to make it in year 4. And that was kind of the running joke. Like, this is going to happen, which is fine. It's what the league wanted to do. It was great to have it in Tucson. It's just with things coming down the pipe with IFL and, if you're going to have a neutral site game, it's tough, right? It genuinely is tough. Right. And, do I think that eventually we end up going back to the number 1 seed? Probably. Right. And in that point, you would hope that the fans, because it's all about the experience, right? Like, if you were here at the conference championship game, we packed the place in 72 hours and it was jumping. And I will give our credit to our game day people. Like, if you've ever been to a game in Vegas, the atmosphere is electric, right? Like one of the best in the business, just because of our game day people, the DJ, everything, right? If you come in our arena, like if you're a visiting team, you come in our arena and they're doing sound check. The stands are rumbling because of the sound system, and it's a process, right? Everybody's still trying to figure out their niche, how it works and what's best for the league. And we'll end up getting there. right now, what's best for the league is be in Tucson, and it was, you know, for them to have over 3,000 people at the game. Give kudos to the people in Tucson and you know the fans who traveled from Green Bay and traveled from Vegas. There were a lot more Green Bay and Vegas fans there than I thought would be there. And that's kudos to Green Bay and Kathy and Coach Roberson and them in Green Bay and what we do here in Vegas, that our fans will pick up and travel.
Absolutely, it is, and I think that was a definite advantage for you guys as well, that you were a little bit closer to Tucson. But either way, congratulations on the championship win, whether it was in Tucson or Green Bay or Canada. I'm fairly certain it all feels the same for you. So definitely congratulations on the win, and then hopefully you guys are able to position yourselves for a repeat in 2026.
2026 starts on Monday, so we'll figure it out.
There you go. There you go. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Coach. I appreciate it, and thank you for your patience waiting backstage as well. Really appreciate that.
No worries. Appreciate you having me.
Definitely. Have a great rest of your day, and we look forward to seeing what happens in 2026.
Likewise.
All right. Talk to you later. All right. Once again, that was championship-winning head coach Mike Davis of the Vegas Nighthawks. Krish, I like your jersey you're wearing, by the way. I didn't see that earlier. We're going to hit one more quick commercial.
What you got, Chris? What you got on? Sit back. I can't see you, Chris.
I got my Omaha Beef jersey on. You know, my boy Ricky got me right with the signed autographs. You know, I mean, I paid for it, TJ. So, you know, you got to go to merch to get some of yours, man. It's the merch. It comes on time.
I already have some from my 10-year as a fan, not since last season.
No, but it's good merch, man. It's not like some of
Vegas
these
gear
other teams out there that will try to steal your money. You know, I know when I order an Omaha shirt, I'm gonna get it within 7 days. I'm not gonna be, you know, like Shreveport. My merch is not gonna be stolen from me. So I'm lucky that I picked the right team.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
you look like a Vegas Nighthawks, bro.
Oh man. Okay, so we're gonna circle back to the NAL section. We didn't really get a chance to talk about the big news, but we do also have to bid adieu to TJ Bartholomew today. So really appreciate TJ for sticking with us through Mike Davis's section there. But I know you got other prior engagements you have to get to, man. So thank you for your time today. Appreciate it.
Not a problem, guys. Everybody have a good weekend and week. See you guys next week.
Absolutely. Have a great rest of your day, man. All right, so we're going to pivot back to the NAL, like I just mentioned. And there's been some fairly big news coming out of the league. And I think one of the biggest pieces of news, we have the perfect guest to discuss, because Demery Croft has signed a contract with the Omaha Beef for the 2026 season. Obviously, for anybody who was paying attention last season, this is not to throw shade, so please don't take it that way when I say this out loud, but the Beef had one of the older quarterback rooms in the league when it came to the playoff time. They had veterans in Tommy Armstrong and then also Lorenzo Brown. You know, two guys have been around the game for a long time. Now you kind of pivot and you've got Demery Croft, who's a veteran, but he's he's still fairly young. And then you also have PJ Thomas as a backup there, who is, I think, in his third season as a playing football. So talk to me a little bit about the transition from two veterans to two younger guys for Omaha.
Yeah. So, first and foremost, man, like having a guy, lead this organization for so many years, and Tommy Armstrong is rare. You don't usually get that in this game. Usually guys kind of go in and out. They get opportunities, they move up. For whatever reason, just the consistency at the quarterback position is what defines really good organizations. And Tommy's been that pillar for Omaha for at least 3, 4, 5 years. Former Cornhusker. He's Nebraska. When you think of Nebraska, but we brought in Demery. He is a younger guy, but he still has experience. A lot of people forget that back in 2021, he played like 8 games or 9 games in Tucson, and he made all IFL rookie team. He threw for 1,800 yards, 25 touchdowns, ran for 400 yards, and like 10 touchdowns in 8 games. People seem to forget that. And he's had a journey. He's played in different stops. He's been with really good coaches. He was in Arizona with Coach Guy. He was in Quad City with Coach Ross. So he's been able to just learn the game, and he's learned from some good quarterbacks as well. Playing with Drew Powell and playing with DeQuan Neal, and being around the game in that level. We felt it was a no brainer. He popped up on Instagram one day as someone you may know, and I was like, oh, let me shoot a follow over. And then one thing led to another. I sent him to Coach Negron, and by that afternoon, Coach Negron had called me and was like, "Hey, this is a guy." So, it was an easy signing. And then bringing in PJ, he did exactly what he was supposed to do. He dominated the developmental league he was in, put up really good numbers, commanded an offense, did the things that we were looking for as a guy to come in. We're excited about them both. We don't, we were talking at FanFest the other day. We don't want Demery, PJ. We don't want anybody that comes in to play quarterback for the Omaha Beef to feel like they have to be Tommy Armstrong, because there's only one Tommy Armstrong. We want them to be the next great Omaha Beef quarterback. So that for the fans out there, like, I know there's gonna come a time and point during the season where we're gonna have a play at quarterback where maybe there's a turnover, or maybe this happens, or maybe that happens. I hope it doesn't, but I've been around the game long enough to know that mistakes are gonna happen. And the chats are going to go crazy in the YouTube comments. Tommy wouldn't have done this. Where's Tommy? I understand. I expect you guys to love Tommy. I mean, I've only gotten to spoke to Tommy a couple times, competing against him, but I've got the utmost respect for him. We're not trying to replace Tommy Armstrong. We're trying to bring in the next great quarterback for the Omaha Beef.
Yeah, I have nothing but great things to say about Tommy Armstrong. I got the pleasure of meeting him and talking to him quite a few times just through our affiliation with the Beef a couple years back. And that dude is a consummate professional. Honestly, have nothing but respect for him, and I wish him nothing but the best in whatever's next for him, whether he comes back for the next playoff run or how that all works for him. Because I to be completely frank, I thought he was completely done last season, and then he ends up coming back. So I wouldn't put it past him, but at the same time, I understand he's definitely got a family and stuff like that going on outside of football that I'm sure he's more focused on at this point.
Yeah,
But
mean, he's living down in Texas now. He's getting he trains quarterbacks, and he's all in on that. He's killing it down there, and he's going to become the next great quarterback guru whisperer. And we're excited to have not me necessarily, because I just got here, but to be a part of his journey. Is a pretty cool experience. So and he's spoken very highly of around these parts. So like I said, we wish him nothing but the best. I wish him nothing but the best, and hopefully he can get up to a game and get on the sideline, give me a good play call here and there, and just see what happens.
I love that. Chris, do you have any questions for CJ?
Yeah, no, I kind of wanted to give my thoughts on the quarterback signing. I'm gonna hold my thoughts on PJ Thomas. I don't want to be disrespectful or anything. So I'll just talk about Demery Crowd. Demery is someone, he is gonna have the best field vision in the NAL. His ability to run the football, it's high level. The CJ, you watched him play. I watched him play when he was at Tucson. For me, you're getting an elite athlete and a below average passer. And so when I say that, career-wise, he has a 58% completion percentage, right? He struggles in the passing game. Do I think he can get better as a passer? Absolutely, I do. I believe he can become a top passer in the NAL. So he has the pieces around him. So I think he just needs to be a point guard. He just needs to dish it out. He had some of the best receivers. He had the best O-line in the league. I don't care what any other team does. Omaha has the best O-line. You look at top to bottom. I mean, Reggie Patrick, Junebug, Josh Fields, like all these guys, right? They're so dominant up front, and you pride yourself on having a good line. So I think Demery just needs to stay in the system and play a game, and he'll be good. I think it won't be flashy, it will be
Yeah,
more.
I mean,
You know.
I mean, I'm a firm believer that stats are what you make them, and that system can dictate statistical performance. So, without not trying to bash anybody or do anything, but if he's in a system where it's full field reads, we're going, top to bottom, throwing posts, doing this, throwing go balls, throwing low percentage throws, that's going to affect completion percentage. But if he's in a system where the route concepts mirror each other, they're simplistic, and we're going to put Demery in the position to elevate. I mean, at the end of the day, Coach Negron and myself, as much as we love these guys and we want them to be here forever, we want to send guys to the UFL, the CFL. That's our goal. I mean, we don't want guys who necessarily have to be here. If they want to be here, we want them. But we don't want guys to feel like it's a burden to be in Omaha. We want guys who want to be here. And, we're going to tool our offense and our play calling around his strengths and getting the ball out quickly and, having some run game stuff. But we're not going to sit there and make him a running back. That's not what he's here for. He's here to showcase his arm talent. And, with the receiving core we have announced so far, with Dev Conliff and Jarve Flowers and Cam Alves and Cole Moose and Terej Trainer, like that's 5 dudes that can make something happen. So and then we have, we've brought back our entire offensive line where, we have 2 more guys that we haven't announced yet. They're young guys that, are gonna really be good football players, and it's just we are going to build this thing around him and we're going to let him lead us into success, and then we know that PJ is going to be right behind him, pushing every single day. We don't want this thing to be like there's a drop off because injuries happen. What if Demery gets called up to the CFL midway next season or, gets called to the UFL? We never know. I mean, so we got to make sure that everyone that's around him is just as successful as he's going to be.
That's a fair point. Out of curiosity, I mean, obviously it's very publicized that PJ Thomas had an injury. Do you guys still look at bringing in a third quarterback just for depth purposes for training camp?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that's just going to be predicated on his recovery process. I don't want to confirm nor deny, because if I say yes and then he's full go by camp, then it's really going to just depend on how he recovers. I mean, we have it in the back of our mind that there's a possibility that we would bring in a third quarterback just in case. We don't want to be in a situation where we get to camp and he's still out, a week or 2 or 3 or whatever, finalizing. He had a pretty substantial injury. And he's recovering well. He's starting to run. He's throwing. He's doing all that stuff. So, he's recovering well. But recovery takes time, and we're going into September. And then next thing you know, it'll be October, and then November, then December. Then now we're talking, hey, we're going into camp. I mean, there's a chance we're starting camp into February. So, that kind of expedites the process. If he was playing back in the AAL2 or something like that, where they're not starting until April, he's basically getting a whole nother month of recovery. So now it's just we want him to come back feeling as healthy and as comfortable as he can. But we've been in conversations with him, and if it seems like it's a situation where he's still a few months away and we're getting closer to camp, then we'll make that decision at that point.
Makes sense. PJ is a great guy.
Oh, yeah.
Super excited for him getting the opportunity at the professional level, and honestly, I'm excited to see what you guys can do with him. And I have a feeling, and you obviously don't have to give this away, but I have a feeling he's the type of guy that if he's 100% healthy, he's going to be involved somehow, some way, even if Croft starts. So I'm excited to see his role with the Beef in 2026. So definitely one of those guys that I'm rooting for sure.
Yeah, and he fits the mold too. Like he's a good football player, but he's a better person.
Yes.
That was one of the things. So there were a few things when I got here, Coach Negron and I talked about um, that we just wanted. Like guys had to have certain traits and certain things that we wanted. Like we wanted football guys. We wanted guys who care about their craft, who put in the work in the off season, who are going to be great in the locker room, guys who are going to be great in the community. We just want well-rounded guys because, like I said, we want these guys to elevate. And for you to elevate, you've got to be able to be, a good locker room guy. You got to be able to go out in the community. You have to be able to make plays. So, it's just we didn't want to bring in just dudes because they had a name, because not everyone's going to fit what we're building. It's been very strategic with the guys we've brought back, with a mixture of guys who've been here, but then a mixture of guys who, if you ask their teammates, they've been nothing but great dudes. I mean, I talk about them all the time, every chance I get. I mean, bringing in Brandon Munoz to Omaha is going to be just different. Like, a dude's he won in Jacksonville. He was a NAL all NAL rookie team or rookie of the year in 2023. He killed it in Wheeling this year, was all NAL. He's coming to Omaha. Like, with our defensive line right now, with him, Rudy Naguni, who was a problem in 2024 as a guy who had to block him. He was a problem in 2024. Then he goes to the IFL this year and is making plays in Tulsa and Tucson. Having Tavin Fitzgerald at nose, having Jay Washington and DeAnthony Hall Steele. We're going to have a lot of really good football players, but they're good dudes. Like the goal, the championship mindset. That's all we talk about.
No, I personally agree, and I think if you wanted an indicator of the type of guy that you're getting in PJ, you just go look at what happened when he was injured. I mean, there was literally well wishes coming from every team across the league, guys that they had really, chippy games and stuff against each other. They were still wishing him well because at the end of the day, they knew that he's a good person, and stuff like that off the field, which I thought was a good indicator. But Krish, I'm sure you've got a couple more questions in mind.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with CJ. I think last year the passing production the Beef had. I mean, people forget Lorenzo Brown had an incredible season for the Beef before he got hurt. 136 passing attempts, only 3 interceptions. Over 22 touchdowns in 7 games. So I think CJ is gonna try. I think for you, CJ, like, how are you gonna balance a run pass offense? Have you thought about that? Like, do you want to do? I know you don't want to give it away, but how are you going to find that balance with Demery on the center?
Yeah, so I mean, here's the thing, man. Like Coach Rez said earlier, I've been a coach for the last 7 years. In high school, coaching Division II football. Like, you know, I'm not a guy that's going to just say, "Oh, we have to be 60-40 or 70-30." Or the play calling is going to be dictated on what you're not good at. Like, if you can't cover us down the field and our receivers are running open and we've seen that on film, we're going to take shots. We're going to try to expose that. If your defensive line is soft and light and they can't stop the run, we're going to run the ball. Yes, we're going to put an emphasis on the run game and being a physical football team, because that's the culture we're trying to build. We want a physical, hard-nosed football team. We want people to leave the arena, whether it be in Omaha or when we leave their arena, to be like, "Wow, that was like a cage fight," and that's our mindset. So, we're gonna have some more run game stuff built in. And there'll be some natural times where Demery will pull a pass and he'll scramble and do stuff like that. And there may be a couple runs built in for him, but at the same time, like, we don't want to be in a situation where our quarterback's getting banged up. And this is not to throw shade at anybody or say anything negative, but when your quarterback gets hurt, man, things change really quickly. And I experienced that firsthand. I mean, I was in Wheeling. We played 5 different quarterbacks, in a 10-game season. Like, whether it be just they ran it a lot or they just didn't, they didn't hold up, like for whatever reason, so, but we never could get on a rhythm because we had a different quarterback every other week, and it's tough because some of those were injuries that could have been avoided. Some of it was just like, hey, it's just wear and tear, so we don't want to be in that situation. We have two running backs right now, that are coming into camp, and then we'll probably look to add a third one just to have more competition. And, you know, we're going to run the football. The Omaha Beef will run the football, but I can't sit here and say we're going to be at least this many runs per game, this many passes per game, because it's all going to be dictated on what you're not good at.
Right. I mean, you can't exactly. I mean, you can go in hoping for a balanced offense and stuff, but like you said, you got to call what the in according to what the defense is giving you and what they're giving up for sure. So, I'm excited to see what you guys bring to Omaha. We've talked about it a lot off camera, but I'm very excited about David Ross. I know that he may not be the flashiest player in terms of he's not going to average 6-7 yards a carry, but he's going to do a little bit of everything for you guys. He's going to be a very valuable Swiss Army knife. Thank you. I don't know why I was blanking that, but he just does a little bit of everything, and I'm excited to see what he can do for the Beef in 2026 with the full off season of prep with you and Coach Negron. But other than him, what are you looking to add to that backfield? I mean, obviously you've got that grinder, kind of the pounder, bruiser back. Who else do you anticipate adding body skill set wise?
Yeah. So, I mean, first thing I'm gonna say about David Ross, man, he's a worker. He has a work ethic that's gonna separate him from other people. Um, he played at a small Division III college up in Connecticut, and had to cut his teeth last year with an organization that was going down pretty fast. And then got an opportunity to come to Omaha and continue to learn and develop. And he was behind a pretty good running back with Tobias Taylor. And I think David is going to surprise a lot of people. He's losing weight. He was playing last year like 245, 250. He's trying to play this year like 225, 220. That's going to make him more explosive. He sends me workout videos all the time, and he may not be the guy that takes it end to end for 50-yard touchdowns or does things like that, but he's a guy that you're not going to want to tackle come the fourth quarter. And then that's where those big runs pop off. We get those third and shorts, fourth and goals, whatever. Like, I feel good handing the ball to him. But to answer the second part, we have another guy that we haven't announced yet. He's kind of like a more of a scat back type of guy that can do a little bit of everything. But I would like to have like a thunder lightning situation. A guy like David who's going to just beat you down and frustrate you and make you wish you weren't in the arena that day, and then a guy that makes one cut and can take it full field for a touchdown. They both catch the ball well out of the backfield. Both can run routes, do things like that. But we just want guys that can. Coach McGraw and I talk about all the time. How much value can you add? We only carry 21 guys on game day. Can you be a running back, an emergency receiver, a kick returner? Can you run down all the special teams? Can you do those little things? Because that's your value. Very few times do guys get an opportunity and move up, and they just move up to play the position that they were playing, unless you're a quarterback. Like, all these guys that Albany sent up, like, they're going to have to play special teams too, which I know Coach Ware values special teams and he prepares his guys. But, like, that's just the nature of this sport. That's the nature of all sports. When you move up, you got to show your worth everywhere you go. It's not just, oh, you were an amazing receiver in the AF1, the IFL, the NAL. You're going to be that in the CFL, UFL, NFL. Can you make plays on special teams? Can you return kicks? Can you do this? Can you do that? So I think we're going to just look for guys that fit that mold, so then that way when it's time to make that 21-man roster each week, it's not oh man, well, we're only going to have this one position. Well, no, coach, we've got these guys that can play multiple positions. That's something Coach Negron and I talk about pretty regularly when we talk about, potential players.
Makes perfect sense. Is that something that you look for directly in their college or previous professional background, or is that something that it's just kind of a projection thing when you look at a player's film?
I think it's a combination of all of it. Because some guys in college, when you become the guy, sorry, I got to put my phone in. When you become the guy, you're oftentimes not asked to do more than just that main job. So sometimes college film can be a little tough. If you're a guy that's fresh out, I'll look more at college film. Um, but my first things, how quick do you move? Like, do you look like an athlete? Can you, you know, if you're a running back, how well do you run routes? Like, are you just a guy that can only run check down routes, or are you a guy that can flex out and move and do those things? So if I see a running back flexing out wide in his college tape, well, then he's going to be able to flex out in the indoor game. Now he may be stationary, he may not be a high motion guy, but he can be stationary and run routes. It's the same thing. So I look at body composition. If you're a defensive end and you're like 235, well, maybe can you play linebacker? Are you twitchy enough to play linebacker? If you're, you know, a 275, 280 pound three technique, are you twitchy enough to play defensive end? So it's like looking to see where guys project, because that's the job as a coach, is you got to put these guys in the right position, and then they have to make the plays. But if you can put them in the right position to make those plays, then you're doing the job.
Absolutely. Chris, you got anything? TJ, how much of an asset has it been the fact that you just retired, following the 2025 season when it comes to your recruiting? I mean, I feel like a lot of these guys you probably have some sort of previous contact with. I mean, obviously you talked about Demery not necessarily being a connection beforehand, but as far as that goes, I mean, how much of an asset has it been that you're so closely removed from your playing career?
It's been a pretty big asset for us, or for me at least. It's given me an opportunity to connect with guys that maybe I wouldn't have connected with before. When they follow me on Instagram, stuff like that, they see, oh crap, Coach Kane played. Like, he understands. He's played at a high level. He's done this. He's done that. Um, I just kind of use it, man, to be a resource. I had some guys reach out to me and want to come here and things like that, and they know what questions to ask. And I know what is important to most players. Every player is gonna have different motivations, but like, hey, do we get paid on time? Is the housing good? Do we get fed? Do we have a gym to go to? Like, do we practice outside? Do we practice inside? Do we how do we travel? Just things like that. Things that, when I was going through the process a year ago, that I was asking. So to be able to be that resource to where they don't always have to reach out to Coach Negron. Like, how the process has really been is some of these guys, Coach Negron signed a lot of the guys from last year, and he's done a great job. He's a great recruiter. But some of the guys I've been able to add, I get them the base information, talk to them, and then I pass them over to Coach Negron, because he, at the end of the day, is the head coach, and nothing goes without him giving the approval. So I'm never going to tell a guy, yeah, man, here's what we're going to give you, here's what we're going to do, you're going to be this, because I'm not the head coach. Like, that's not my role. So I've been able to be just a middleman, so because oftentimes you end up in situations where you may have one coach on staff that was a former player. Sometimes you end up on situations where you have a staff with no guys who were players. So like, they see everything from a coach's perspective. They don't see that this guy made a sacrifice because he left his wife and kid, or his girlfriend and whatever, his job, because he's chasing a dream, and he moved 12 hours away, for a few $100s a game. So people don't see that. People just see the end result on Saturdays or Friday nights or whatever, but they don't understand the process that it goes, and the trust and the team building and the camaraderie and all those things that it goes to even get to Saturday. Like, because with some organizations, it really is week to week. And I know plenty of guys who've been in bad situations, and then they reach out and they're like, hey man, is this going to be a bad situation? Is it going to be this? Is it going to be that? And that's what I'm there for. So then Coach Negron doesn't have to field some of those questions. My job as an assistant coach is to take as much off his plate as possible. Like that's what good assistant coaches do. So, him and I may not always see eye to eye on things. That's football, that's coaching, but I got too much respect for him to make him stress out about, some of these small questions.
No, that's a perfect way to sum it up. And I just wanted to throw out there again, we, like I said, we put up a post recently about how players need to do their research. Well, part of that research is feeling free to reach out to players like former players like CJ, who are now in the coaching realm, who have that experience to look back on and be like, okay, I've been there, I've done that. Here are the questions you need to ask. Here are the things you want to have a team, or you want to have in place from a team, stuff like that. And just to throw it out there one more time, if you need to do any sort of research on a team, or you need any sort of information from a player's perspective, from a coach's perspective, any of that, reach out to us here at Shady Sports Network. If we don't have answers, we will go get them for you. We are in the business as much to help players and coaches as we are because we're fans and because we have a passion for this game. So don't ever hesitate. If you feel something's not right, reach out to us. Like I said, if we don't have the answer, we'll get it for you. So I would hope that goes for every media outlet out there that interviews or interacts with players. We should be as much a resource to them as they are a resource for us. This is a symbiotic relationship. So hopefully we can continue to build it that way. So just want to that one more time. No, you're good. Go ahead.
Just to touch on what Coach Rez talked about earlier, this is probably going to be unpopular opinion. Some people are probably going to get mad, and that's okay. But, with where we are at, and I say we, guys who play indoor football, who are trying to elevate, who are trying to do those certain things, my motivations were different. Like, I just love football. I took 2 years off right after COVID to pursue college coaching, and I got back into it in 2023. I was 26 going on 27. My window, I played at D2 school. I wasn't an All-American, this. Like, my window to go outside was very, very, very small. That wasn't my motivation. My motivation was to play the game I love for as long as I could and try to win championships. That was it. I knew the money would come when I performed. But if you're an athlete, you're trying to figure out and navigate through this, because at the end of the day, man, there's going to be 260 guys who get drafted each year. There's going to be, I think the number comes out to like 1,800 total players when you break down every roster and practice squad in the NFL. The CFL has 9 teams. The UFL, I think, is at like 6 or 8 or something like that.
Yeah, 8.
Those rosters are around 50 something. And then you look at the indoor landscape. There's about 50 teams. And I'm probably overshooting, but like between the IFL, NAL, TAL, AF1, to me, those are considered professional leagues for legitimate opportunities. And if you put all those numbers together, you're probably at like 3,000 total players. And there's tens of thousands that come out every year in college. So I say all that to say, like, don't fall for these scams. Don't fall for these like tryouts and stuff that are just randomly posted. do your research, man. If there's a flyer that's got like league logos on it, but there's no teams directly listed, it's a red flag. Like you should never be. To me, those are pointless. Go to the individual team and try out for them. If you live in if you live in Denver, don't go to a league tryout in California or in Texas. Go try out for the Colorado Spartans. Go try out for the Pueblo Punishers because that's $50, $60. You don't have to book a flight. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do that. Once again, everybody's got their different things. That's the first thing. Like these group tryouts, stuff like that, unless they're verified, things like that, and there's teams specifically mentioned, don't fall for because there's some bad people in this business who are going to just try to take your money and not blink an eye that you're out $100. You booked $200 worth of flights. You had to book a hotel. You spent $500 just to come try out to make maybe $200. Do your research. Do your research. Secondly, once again, going to be an unpopular opinion. As an indoor football player, you guys, we don't need agents. You can have people who can help you connect with teams, but you don't need someone saying they're your agent or they're your representation because we don't make enough money as players, as coaches, whatever, to be sitting here paying someone to connect with someone. At the end of the day, man, like all my connections came from me as a player, came from me reaching out on Facebook, friending people, sending messages, sending emails, doing those type of things. That's how I got to where I'm at. It wasn't because I paid somebody, X amount of dollars to put my film out there. I I did that. All of us can do that. So I just, too many times, and I see it more now as a coach, but we get into these negotiations and guys are like, "Well, I need to talk to my agent." It's like, dude, we're talking about like $300 for like why do we need to get an agent in this to talk about $300 and a hotel apartment, and getting 2 meals a day? Like we're not doing this whole like song and dance of, we're going to negotiate to get an extra $50. Like, do your research, guys. Trust yourself. You are your best ambassador, not these agents, not these, representatives, whatever they're going to say. Hey, like I can get you in front of all these people. Go to the tryouts, post your film, reach out to coaches, email coaches, like do your job. Like be your best ambassador and don't trust someone else to do that for you. Because if you're the third, fourth O lineman in this guy's repertoire and you're going to make $200 because you're a rookie, he's not going to promote you as hard as he's going to promote the guy that is a 3-year IFL, 3-year NAL vet who's won awards and done this. He's going to make sure that guy gets taken care of first. So I know that's just a little bit of a tangent, but like,
No, good
it's
information.
just too many guys I've seen get scammed out of stuff, and if they're not certified, if they're not NFL, CFL, PA certified, don't trust them when they tell you. Don't trust them when they tell you, "Oh yeah, I can get you a chance, man," because you have to go through certification processes for that.
Yeah.
Now, if they are NFL, CFL certified and you're using them for that, and then they just so happen to help you with indoor, that's a whole different conversation.
I'm glad you said that because that was going to be my caveat to
Yeah.
this.
But if you're just a guy that's like, I just hired a guy because I'm trying to get into indoor, like, whatever, that's tough. Like that's tough to want to feel like that you should need that. If you're sitting there saying, and I know some of these guys, like they're NFL, CFL, PA certified.
Yeah.
So it's like they're helping those people and then they're going to try to help you get there. Like they already have that clientele. So they're legitimate. Well, if it's just like, oh, well, come on down to, Shady Sports Agency, like, what do you have that's offering to make me better? It's going to give me a better opportunity, maybe get me a little bit more money, so just be aware of that stuff, man, because too many people can say they're agents or say they're this and say they're that, and then next thing you know, there's guys who are like, "Well, yeah, I fired that guy 3 months in."
Yeah,
So
exactly. We could say it so many times here. Do your research. It doesn't matter what you're getting yourself into. Know the full extent of what you're getting yourself into. Like CJ said, if they're not at least CFL authorized, they're probably not really worth your time and money if you're gonna invest it in them. If
and
they're a
if they're
program
asking you
that's
to
just,
pay them,
yeah,
if they're asking you to pay them to get you a $200 contract, that's a red flag, man. Like at that point, just reach out to coaches. Like just reach
yes,
out to coaches, former players. We have a big enough network of like, I don't say I'm best friends with a lot of coaches, but like I know quite a few people.
yes,
Heck, Mike Davis was on here earlier, sent him a message before the championship game, wishing him good luck. Like, but we're friends on Facebook. We've communicated before. Like that's it doesn't take much to go on social media. Everyone's got social media to post their highlights. Like go do research. Go pull up all the IFL teams, NAL teams, TAL teams, AF1 teams, and just friend all their head coaches and see what happens. You might get
there
some
you
of
go.
them.
There you go.
Like you might get rejected by 90% of them, but guess what? That 10% is 10% more than you had prior to.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We could definitely sit here and harp on that all day long, but honestly, it's so true. Like Google is a resource now, right? Go on Google, go look up the teams that you want to play for, look up the coaching staff, and then like Coach the CJ said, go find them on all social medias and then friend them on all of them. Eventually you'll get one of them to request or you accept your request. There's your door, your open door. And that's quite frankly how we built this network. I just started reaching out to people. Chris just started reaching out to people, and then eventually they come back. And is it an immediate process? Absolutely not. But at the same time, if you're consistent, if you're persistent, and you work hard, eventually you're going to get there. So I definitely agree on that, and that's very well said. CJ, you know it firsthand. Yeah, did you ever even employ an agent your whole professional career?
I think I got one because I speak from firsthand experience. I'm not going to mention the agency's name, but I employed one. So my rookie year, I played in the original AAL, um, which was very competitive, but I'm fresh out of college. I'm like, all right, I'm trying to move up. At the time, the AFL was still going. I'm trying to like, move up to the NAL, the IFL, because I didn't have anyone like to walk me through that process. So I hired an agent, and he ended up getting me a couple contracts and stuff. But it was like I took a step back and I was like, wait a minute, like I could have done that. Like I could have gotten that contract to Maine or Cedar Rapids or any of those teams that I was debating on playing in or playing with in 2019. And I was like, I had to have a conversation like, look, man, like this isn't gonna be beneficial to me. It's not going to be beneficial to you because you're not going to make the money off of me that you think because like I said, I wasn't a all-American, all-conference player in college. I was a good, steady role player who stepped in when guys got hurt, you know, started games, played games, rotated in, and I added my value as a professional. I didn't have high value coming in as a, rookie second year guy. So, I mean, heck, not a lot of people know this. In 2023, I last season I played was 2019. 2023 rolls around. I'm working at the school I was working at, and I get a text from Anson Yarbrough, who was out in Fayetteville, and was like, "Hey man, like we need an offensive lineman." And I'm like, I don't know, we'll see. We're talking. But where I was living at, Fayetteville was like an hour and a half from where I was at. So then I was like, all right, let's see, let's just see what happens. I hit up Coach Fuller. I hadn't talked to Coach Fuller in like 2 years, but we were talking about potentially reuniting in 2021 or me coming to play for him in 2021. And then, that happened at 9 a.m. on a Saturday. Yeah, on a Saturday. By noon, I had signed a contract. By 4 p.m., I was driving to Greensboro to go to practice. Like, that's how quick it happened. And that's not like, it's not like I was talking to Coach Fuller every single day and like hounding him to come play. It just happened. So, it can happen, guys. Like, just do your research and don't be afraid to take that first step. That first step is just putting yourself out there, communicating with coaches.
Absolutely. Man, we've been on for almost 3 hours now. Krish, do you have any final thoughts? We'll go around the horn real quick to final thoughts and then wrap this bad boy up.
No, I think CJ kind of nailed it on the head, man. I mean, do your research, but that goes with everything, in the industry, right? And it's up to the teams, like CJ was saying, like the little details, right? If you want to, I love to bring it back to us, but, I wish we focused on the little details of marketing like Omaha does, because maybe we would still have a team, you know what I mean? Or, our team would have a better likelihood of being here longer. So it's all about the little details and the effort you put in certain things. And I think like Omaha does it right because they put the same amount of effort into every area. And that's why like everything has to prosper in order for the on the field product to be successful long term and consistently. So I think it's interesting. I think I like I said, I think the Omaha Beef have a great roster going into 2026. I think the line is great, the receivers are great, the defense. I expect that defense to hold opponents to under 35 to 30 points a game. That defense is going to be dominant. It's going to be better than it was last year. And I think last year they gave it 23 points a game, CJ, something like that. Like
Yeah.
I think it's going to be even more crazy this year. So it's a lot of great things in store. I expect a lot of news to come out within the next 2 weeks about the different leagues. Monday, Play Blow Punishers announced the head coach, who we all know who it is, and then they announced 4 player signings, the worst kept secret in all the industry. But I can't wait to see who the 4 players are, who they sign, what caliber of players. I'm sure, it's better than Amarillo, but it's whoever they sign will be. But I'm excited. I'm really excited. I'm really looking forward to it, and looking forward to a good day of college football as well. So
I'm going to see if I can make it to that announcement on Monday. So hopefully we have some more on-site footage on that one. CJ, any final thoughts before we get out here?
Yeah, man. Like I say every time I come on here, just support the industry, support the game, man. We need fans. We need people in our communities, our respective communities, to just come to a game and make your decision on if you like it or not based on that. I mean, what we have here in Omaha special. Ricky has really put in the legwork since he got here, back in 2018 and bought the team, and our fans have bought in and they love what we're doing. And now, through many different people and changes and stuff like that, it's Coach Negron and I's time to be the next, bring the next trophy and bring the next level of excitement to Omaha. So I'm just excited to be here. I'm excited for all the opportunities. Excited to have been on the show today and talk some good indoor football. Wish it was already like December, January, but we'll have some stuff to talk about here soon. Hopefully, with some expansion talks in different leagues and stuff like that. So
definitely plenty more to come out this offseason for sure. I mean, there's got a lot of coaching vacancies to fill, as he mentioned, more potential expansion or team movement. So going to be plenty of opportunities. And TJ, we'd love to have you back whenever you're free, man. Always love to have you on the show. But as far as my final thoughts, I really think I've pretty much touched on everything I had feeling wise out of this show. So I'm pretty excited about this one. It was a good episode, a lot of great guests. Hopefully you all took the time to share this with your friends.
How many times a week? Like three, four times maybe.
I'm gonna pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
So how many times have you shared this today? Hopefully 4 or 5. On that note, we'll catch you guys next Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern. As always, I am Sam Shady. That's Krish Vyas, CJ Kane, all of us at Shady Sports Network. Hope you have a great day and tune in a half an hour for the bus stop. If you like hip hop and football and sports, that's the show for you. So definitely look forward to that one. On that note, we'll catch you guys next week.